Board members, are we ready? Joel, 9:40. Does anybody want to take the over under on 9:40? Joel says 9:10. Are we good? We're good? We're good, everybody?
But I am leaving for Maine at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, so anything we can do to move this along would be appreciated.
Lynn, are you ready? You're the most important one.
Yep.
You're good?
Yep.
All right, for Lynn, guys, for Lynn.
Bar Harbor.
Lynn, you want 8:30?
Want the meeting to happen in the first place.
I want, like, yeah, pretty much.
8:30 sounds great. 8:30, but here's the
Here you go,
deal.
Joanne.
When you're on vacation, just send us a picture of somewhere
Okay.
you are wearing a miserable
Gladly.
meeting.
No, we're gonna stay in Bar Harbor.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Board Secretary on June 3rd, 2025 in the following manner. Posted notice on the school bulletin board at the Administration Building, transmitted to the Courier Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, and the Clerk of Cherry Hill Township. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Sugars, will you please call the roll?
Dr. Braddock,
Here.
Mrs. Sherfain. Here. Dr. Dreisen,
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Greenbaum, Mr. Mayor,
Here.
Ms. Palmer. Here. Ms. Stern.
Here.
Mrs. Winters.
Here. Thank you, Mrs. Sugars. All right, we are going to start with some board recognition, which is one of my favorite things in the universe. We have a lot of students in the room tonight and families. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to start with the Latin Club.
You'll have to forgive me. I'm a big fan of written words, Latin nerd that I am. And three of our dream team are not here, so they'll be recognized in absentia. So here I go. Salvete omnes, greetings everyone. I am JD Monday, currently Cherry Hill's only Latin teacher, someone who looks forward to returning next year for his 30th year as a Latin teacher in Cherry Hill. I am here tonight to invite you all to join me in recognizing and celebrating our Latin stars. But before I begin, let me say that all of them have learned Latin in mixed level classes where there is a wide range of student abilities and a wide range of student efforts. Nonetheless, these mixed level classes are where even students who sometimes struggle academically can be successful and enjoy learning a lot of material and enjoy earning solid grades to show for it. Our Latin stars 49 times have earned perfect scores on the National Latin exam. This year, 3 fell 1 point short of perfection. Our Latin stars a few years ago, they participated in the Junior Classical League's National Convention. There they placed 11th in the country in Curtamen, 3rd in the country in Latin 2 grammar, and 1st in the country in Latin 3 Latin poetry reading comprehension. Yes, 1st in the country. Our stars have also taken the seal of biliteracy test in Latin. This year, 12 have earned the prize. Impressively, 10 of them this year passed the test, even though they're in Latin 3. Our Latin stars for a long time have taken the SATs. Not surprisingly, on the English section of the SATs, 88% this year earned a 600 or higher, and 54% earned a 700 or higher, and 2 earned perfect scores of 800. Our Latin stars for very many years have competed in Curtamen. Curtamen, the Latin word for contest. It's an academic contest with questions on ancient Greek and Rome's language, history, mythology, literature, and daily life. Of course, each team matched its skills against others on the same level. That is, students in first year Latin, second year Latin, or upper level Latin. Since 1997, 51 times our Latin stars have placed first in South Jersey, 16 times our Latin Stars have placed third in the state. 24 times our Latin Stars have placed second in the state. And 11 times our Latin Stars have placed first in the state. Note well, in 3 of the past 4 years, our Latin Stars have been state champions in Curtamen. Continuing a tradition of excellence this year, in the state championships for Curtamen, our upper level team placed third in the state. Our Latin 2 team placed second in the state, missing out on their own championship on the very last toss-up question in their round. And our Latin 1 team placed first in the state, trouncing second and third school places, bringing home the traveling trophy for their very own championship victory. Again, please join me in recognizing and celebrating one particular group of our Latin Stars, this year's Latin 1 state champions in Curtamen. By the way, please feel free to applaud for each one of them as we go. Trey Azera. Samson Drake regrets that he is not here tonight. Connor Lamb. Claire Lee. Chris Morris is also not here, regrettably. And finally, Ethan Xiong. Thank you, everybody. Waleta omnibus and farewell.
Thank you so much. I think you have a bunch of board members who want to join your class. So if you can let us know how to audit it, that would be great. We're interested. Next on the list for board recognition tonight is our student athletes for spring sports.
I am not Mike Brow. Well, first we'll get to why he's not here in a minute, but first let us introduce Andrew Graff to recognize our esports at East, our Valkyrie Valorant Garden State League state champions. Andrew.
So I prepared a little something here that I just dropped, and this is our 5th year of esports here in the district. And someone here has been, Kaylee, has been in here for 4 years already, and it's partly due to efforts of students like her and all of these young ladies, so that we've had a lot of success. There's also a lot of efforts at Camden County College, as well as at Garden State Esports as the league and organization, to show students that it's not just about the gaming. There's lots of other opportunities that are a lot of doors that are opening. They're showing students how to turn their passion into not to sound crass, but to a paycheck as well. So there's a lot of efforts of also the students back this year had actually attended this workshop at Camden County. So I think over the next few years, we're going to see a lot of nice growth in both schools and in our esports here. We did win states in the fall for League of Legends, but that is absolutely not about what this is about. We're here to celebrate these young women who are the state champions in Valkyrie Valorant for the 2nd year in a row. We are hoping to have players participate in the Valkyrie Leagues for other games in the fall too. Valkyrie is a league within a league for girls and marginalized genders. The separation into Valkyrie League means these folks get to thrive, show their stuff, and compete in these games without a lot of the stereotypically masculine, overly competitive energy that is typical of the other league. Don't get me wrong, if you watch them and listen to them, you know that the competition is just as intense. It is just the support is there, the mutual support is there, the congratulations, the interpersonal skills that perhaps yet to develop it in the other league are already present, and there it's a pleasant, positive atmosphere of people building themselves up, which is what everything should be, which is of course what we try to do in the other league as well. But this is great that they get to thrive without any other interference. These young women have exemplified these qualities throughout these 2 years that several years that I've known a lot of them here. So let me congratulate Mikey Alvarez. Mikey. Sophia Gabrielle is not here right now. Hannah Lim. Haley Finn. Rena Segovia. And Lillian Tan.
Next, our East Boys Golf is being recognized as Group A South Sectional Champions. I'd like to bring up Ryan James for the recognition.
Need these, sorry. Thank you for having us. I'm going to read what's from our newsletter that we put through at East Athletics, which is taken care of by Ethan Barraway, one of our senior captains, and I'll tell you a little bit about the team, and then he can introduce our guys, okay? Coming into the season, the Cherry Hill East Boys Golf team had a big shoes to fill, coming off a Group 4 state championship title from last year. It was the first title we had in school history. The 2025 team was built on returners from that team who stepped up greatly. The team was invited to the prestigious Garden State Cup at Blue Heron Pines. That was our first time ever being invited there. On April 2nd, we finished 4th overall. They were the top teams in the state, and we were right there with them. We were constantly ranked in the top 10 all year long. From there, that was led by our senior captain, Jesse Serrata, who shot a 76. Anybody here that plays golf, anytime you can be under 80, you are playing phenomenal golf. Okay. The Cougars started out the season on fire, winning their first 7 matches, which included a few team records. This year, and this is going back from, I've been doing this now for 20 years. So I have all the records from that time, and the coaches that were prior to that, I asked them, what they knew. And from what we found, these are all new school records as of this year, which to me blows my mind considering the team we had last year. So the team broke the score record twice in a row. We shot 145, which was a new school record. A couple of days later, we shot a 142 at Legacy Club, which is one of the most difficult courses in South Jersey. Tyler Whitney, right over here, my sophomore, he broke the individual record with a 300 par 32 versus Clearview on March 29th. That is the lowest score I have as an individual on 9 holes. On April 29th, we defended our team title at the Camden County Commissioners Cup. Won that as well. We finished the regular season with a record of 18-1. The Cougars looked to defend their sectional title at Charleston Springs on May 5th, and that's why we're here. The Cougars were led by senior captain Ethan Barraway right here and Tyler Whitney, who both shot 3 over 75s to take the title with a 304 score. Again, you're talking about the best teams in Central and South Jersey, and these guys won sectionals. While the team finished runner-up in Group 4, narrowly losing the state championship to Westfield by 5, the team had a great all-around season. So we were Group 4, a second place runner-up, okay, for the state. Let's see. In that round, also, or excuse me, in the Olympic Conference, we had 3 guys place first team All-Olympic American, which was Jesse Serrata, Tyler Whitney, and junior Sean Murphy, junior right over here. And Ryan Olson finished second team, Ryan Olson there at the end, in the Olympic Conference championships. All right. So going into next year, we have 3 returners. We're losing a couple starters, but we got a lot of guys that are just coming up the ranks. I can say, golf is probably, to me, it's probably the most important. It's probably the most popular sport in the world. And we wouldn't be here without their hard work and dedication. These guys work on this day in and day out. Half of them went and played today before they got here. Okay. The other thing we have is we have Legacy Club at Woodcrest, who has always been a great partnership with our golf team, you know, and we couldn't do it without them. So I'm going to let Ethan Barroway, my senior captain, introduce the guys.
All right. So standing beside me, we got sophomore Tyler Whitney. We got junior Sean Murphy and Ryan Olson. And we got freshman Oliver Lawler. And not able to attend was senior captain Jesse Sereda, with other seniors being Chase Vogel and Jared Blumenthal. And junior William Jones was not able to make it either. And sophomore Mason Petkov and Mason Fowler, who's a freshman, were also on the team.
One more, sorry. We do have one other team to recognize, but they could not be here tonight because they were playing. The West Girls Lacrosse team and coach we want to recognize for becoming Olympic Conference National Division champions. Unfortunately, like I said, the team could not be here tonight. They were playing in the sectional final. We did hear, unfortunately, they did lose tonight, but they did have the Olympic Conference National Division champions for them. So round of applause for those athletes as well.
Congratulations to all of our student athletes. We are so incredibly proud of you for all the work that you do. It's really amazing to watch the excellence that occurs in this district on academics, athletics. All of you are just make us so proud every single day the way that you represent the community. So thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate you. We're really excited that you're all here, students, but it's a long meeting, so we understand if y'all have to go study for finals. Because that's what you're all doing tonight, right?
Thank you.
So next on our agenda, we have something really exciting. It's our new student representatives to the board. So I am going to ask the student representatives to introduce themselves to us, say their name and the school that they attend, starting on this side of the room. You just press the button so that it lights up green to speak.
Hello, my name is Lacey Abdullah and I go to Cherry Hill West. Hello, everyone. My name is Milana Orlov and I also attend Cherry Hill West.
Good evening. My name is Landon Schuster and I attend Cherry Hill East. Hi, I'm Max Kafka and I also go to Cherry Hill East.
Welcome to our new representatives. We're so excited to have you here tonight. We really appreciate you joining us as the representatives to the board from your respective communities. We have a lot to learn from you guys, so thanks so much. All right, Dr. Morton, are we ready to move into presentations? And we are going to start tonight with the presentation of our junior high school transition. That will be done by Dr. Birdie and the middle level principals.
Thank you, Mrs. Winters and Dr. Morton. I appreciate that. Nice to see some of my former students here ascending to roles of board leadership. So it's exciting to see our new reps. I'm going to ask our junior high principals to come to the microphone, please. I'll introduce them as they sort of walk up. although I feel like my colleagues need little or no introduction, as there are certainly household names around the district. Dr. Cafagna, principal at Rosa. We have Ms. Metzger, principal at Beck, and of course, Ms. Franco, principal at Carusi. So we're going to jump right in. This presentation will tell us a little bit more. It'll explain a little bit better the transition to the junior high model, which of course will start in September. When we were first given the task of creating a sustainable model, one that could be used not just for September, but one that would be viable going forward, the first challenge we had was really understanding our reality. We wanted to make sure that we understood the task and the challenge. And more importantly, we wanted to start with our values and our beliefs. We thought it was important to make sure that before we set out on any path, we started to think about those things we held nearest and dearest, those things we wanted to protect, and those things that aligned with our vision and board goals. So we started by reviewing institutional knowledge. The junior high model, while not implemented in many years, is still one where folks working in the district have taught under that model. So it's not ancient history, although it hasn't been used in quite some time. We started our group sort of looking at what had been done previously under the model when it was last utilized prior to the middle school model that we currently have in place now. We also look to connect with colleagues. So we know that one of the things we forget to do sometimes is capture experiential knowledge and really look at the experiences, the lived experiences of not just those of us working at the middle level currently, but also some of our high school colleagues, because they're very familiar with the new schedule we have in place, and the sectioning that went into place was something that they knew a great deal about. We also connected with neighboring districts and neighboring schools to see what other districts were doing and who was using what, which pieces of it, and what might be advantageous as we, again, tried to protect our non-negotiables. As we thought about non-negotiables, and you'll hear that, I think that'll be a common theme of tonight's presentation, we really did think deeply about instructional time and our specialized programs. We thought deeply about our music programs. I think I've been on record several times as saying when it comes to the arts, I'm a yes to all kind of guy. I believe deeply in kids having the opportunities to pursue their purpose and passion. And for some, that has everything to do with their experiences in band, orchestra, and chorus. Of course, our athletic programs, our clubs and activities, our focus on emotional and social learning and the skill building that we do at the middle level. And then, of course, we looked at daily structure and routine and our board goal around student wellness. So when we thought about all the things that we were doing that we want to protect, these are the things that we spent the most time talking about as a team. We also had conversations about improving our current situation. So we thought it was an invaluable time to look at what we could do better. This isn't tinkering, this is reform. And with that, you have some opportunities that don't typically present themselves. So we looked at ways to improve our current model through the new junior high schedule. Those things included increasing instructional time while decreasing unstructured time. Right? So that was key, and that'll be discussed a little bit later on. I think Dr. Cafagna will talk about schedules. We talked about bolstering intervention, and of course, Dr. Morton made a commitment to adding interventionists at each of the schools. We talked about doing a better job of readying our students to enter high school. So it's one of the things we hear frequently from our high school colleagues is that when our 8th graders transition up, they're not ready for some of the independence that accompanies that transition to the high school. We looked at stabilizing class sizes. We know that in some cases we had class sizes at the middle level that were 35 or even north of 35. So that's something we looked at improving, and then bringing our world language staff into an in-house model. So we'd be able to implement that with fidelity, but also without using contracted services, which we did this year. So we spent a lot of time looking at the knowledge of our group, the knowledge of those around us, the things we wanted to maintain, and the areas which we thought we could grow or improve.
And then came the exciting parts, our schedule build. We got to meet with all representation from all of our 3 middle schools over months of time. And we worked to review our sectioning process, which was new to the middle school level, but not new to many of us who have been in the district for many years. We reviewed multiple options using different time worksheet because we wanted to make sure that we, again, we're utilizing all the time so we didn't have unstructured time for our students. We identified the option to maximize that on-task time opposite sides of our lunch periods. What we've had in the past is right at the back of our lunch periods, because our lunch periods are approximately 26 minutes. On the other half of that, because that would equal a full class size or a full class time, we would have some unstructured time, either homeroom time, or what we did was we structured it a little bit more this year with an I&E period. Identified the time to use for our music programs to make sure we had that in our schedule. We invited representatives from the music department and special education to review to make sure that we were looking at all the different aspects and keeping everybody's lenses there to look at what we're doing to move forward. And we created sample schedules for our teachers and students, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Entering the information to our student management system is something that's ongoing right now, so we can utilize our Genesis system in order to schedule for our students. And the real exciting piece here, our time worksheet. So what we did is we used this to try to maximize and look at what the length of time of our periods would be, and to make sure that we were going straight through to the end of the day. What we looked at here is period by period schedule, making sure that we had the academic periods in there for our students, and looking at eliminating that advisory period in the morning, knowing that we had to build in some time for our homeroom activities to occur. So if you look at this, our first period here, we have built in with an additional 5 minutes to make sure we have those homeroom activities happening, attendance, announcements, so we can get our day started because students would be reporting to their first period. Then you can see in the middle, a very creative area there where periods 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, those are 26-minute periods. What 2 of those periods together can combine to make 1 class period. This would eliminate those times that we said when we had those half periods of time where students would be either unstructured, where we've had homeroom in the past, or where we had some I&E times to this year. Then what we looked at the end of the day, we have a 45-minute period of win as to what I need period we'll talk about later, but that's also going to give us that non-negotiable time to make sure our music groups still had the time to meet during the school day. So here's a student sample schedule. Again, this I have to emphasize, this is absolutely a sample. This is not exactly what you would see. The grade levels at the top are meaningless. We just put things in to be able to show what could happen with a schedule. As you can see in the middle of the day, you have our lunch periods. Our lunch periods would drive the schedules that we have for our students to be able to make sure that we maintain the classes that they would have their lunch, and then have their classes go on. And then again, at the end of the day, everybody have that common win period, which will provide that opportunity for those music groups to meet and many other cool things which we'll talk about later. You will see some and notice on, especially on that far schedule all the way to the right, where we have 5 academic periods or in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not something that we would do. We would make sure that we look at the best ways to solve the problems for our students and do what's appropriate for our kiddos. This just happened to be where we're able to throw in what actual subject areas would fit into different spaces. But again, these are just samples. So for example, if we're looking at it, we would be looking at the best interests of our students, especially for the grade level 6, as we're going to be making sure that we have that year of transition for our 6th graders, as well as looking at what's good for a day for students. So if we're looking at it, we'd probably move like one of those phys ed periods up in the middle. So then that way there'd be a break, so students wouldn't be having straight academic times. You can also see the creativity that we have there with the lunch periods. If we have to go with the schedules that have the splits are what we call in there in the middle. Like if you look at that second column to the left, it has a lunch period in there where you'd have an A period and a B period of a class. They'd go to lunch in the middle. We don't see any problem with creating routines for our kids to do that. It's been done in many other schools and also within our own district, especially at the elementary level. Next, you can see a comparison of the times from this year to next year. As you can see, we, again, the only main difference in the very beginning is that advisory period goes away. But what we did was we still have the 52-minute periods of our academic time. In the middle of the day, they become a little bit longer, just by a couple minutes, because what that does is it provides our time for the kids that will be transitioning in the middle to be able to have that time to move from class to class, get from different places to the building, not have to run and be there on time. Then we still had that built-in time for the 45 minutes of WIM period at the end of the day, still getting out at 3 o'clock. So we still have the same beginning time, still the same ending time, and we still have that roughly 52 minutes of academic time per class period. We also have here the flip side so you can see what it would look like for a staff member. Again, these are just samples. These are things that we can put in there. And what we did with the non-negotiables of what we need for staff members as per their contract as well, making sure all staff members are able to get a prep and a lunch. And then the duty time would be during the end of the day for other staff members. So you can see that we have those schedules in there that would align with what they could teach during the day, their academic classes, as well as what they would do in the end of the day, depending upon what their schedule looks like. There's also the sorry. And there you can see the periods again, there's 4 through 8. Those are the half periods. But again, that would make it so that our teachers could still have their lunch period, but they wouldn't be getting additional duty in the middle of the day, which sometimes that was occurring before for the periods of the day because of those split halves. And again, we would have that period in the beginning for everybody. So the period 1 teacher would be essentially the person that's taking attendance in the morning and greeting the student every single day.
So as Dr. Cafagna went over, students are going to be assigned by department this with the junior high model. We're looking at a shortened homeroom time period for attendance and schedule arranged by periods. But this doesn't change our access to school counselors, to the nurse, to our media specialists. And so while Dr. Cafagna's part was, lots of fun, my part of the presentation looks a little bit more at the heart of our students, right? So we're looking, you can actually, to maintain the experiences that our students have had, right? We want to make sure that we continue on looking at what they need. So again, that's that WIN period where we're looking at band, orchestra, choir, going through the instructional piece, which they'll meet during that time. However, lessons still will occur throughout the day on a schedule that our music department will arrange. We'll still have time for counselor visits, for SEL activities. Social emotional learning is very important to all of us. Our guidance will be able to provide support. So these are all things that our students can access during that WIN period, as well as targeted intervention and support to meet the needs of our students. And that again is very important with MTSS, and you will hear further about that from Mrs. Metzger. Our access again to the Media Center, different resources with books, technology, research tools, all of that will be provided during that WIN time. So again, our students will still have the same experiences that they've had this year. That will not be changing for them. We have not lost sight of our, enrichment piece. While we're not having I&E, we are still looking at student-directed passion exploration, some sort of genius hour, and this is a great time for assemblies, guest speakers, and definitely character development. Of course, we have in that period, students will have time to work independently, to complete homework, to catch up on missing assignments, and really to do their own planning and goal setting, which we know from our students is really important to them. That was something that they expressed that they really liked during advisory, and this is something that was important to us that we were able to maintain during the WIN period. And of course, all of our schools at one point or another have been national schools of character. We want to maintain that. And so it is really important to us to continue our goal with social emotional learning. We're going to continue our focus on student wellness. We're going to utilize our counselors and continue our SEL activities, character education, second step, and also rely on other various resources that we can bring in to help our students with their wellness.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about intervention opportunities. So as was stated earlier, all of the schools have been afforded 2 full positions for interventionists targeted in ELA and math, but also in looking at study and organization. These skills are super important for students moving forward in their academic career. And we know that there's a wide range of development when you look at the students coming in at 11 and leaving at 13 and 14. I look around back sometimes and there's kids that are more organized than I will be ever in my lifetime. They don't need that, but some kids really do. So we're looking at how we can target those interventions through our MTSS committees in those areas. So students who were previously in an MTSS plan this past year, or INRS, as you may have heard it called, they will be continued into their enrollment automatically. Then the incoming sixth graders will be screened through our intervention process to see if they are in need of that more intensive support through the WIN period and through dedicated teaching time in those areas. So we've been speaking a lot about music as a non-negotiable. The individual lessons, as Ms. Franco mentioned, will still occur as pullouts during the school day. It might be a 30-minute pullout out of an exploratory class one week, and then a 30-minute pullout out of PE another week. Students have been in that structure and in that schedule for a number of years, and they are very accustomed to it. The group rehearsals will occur during the WIN period, actually increasing the time that they can rehearse just even by 3 minutes. All of the music teachers will tell you that's substantial for them. They will have a scheduled day as they do now. We share chorus teachers with Carusi. So Mr. Kane is with us for 3 of the days or 2.5 of the days, and is with Carusi for 2.5 of the days. And the music teachers are working on what that schedule looks like, again, with shared staff, ensuring that, for instance, I share an orchestra teacher with East. East has graciously flipped their schedule for us. And so the orchestra period will be able to take place in that afternoon period. There will be co-curricular activities. So we have a lot of student groups, clubs, and activities. Some of our things like SGA or peer leaders, they are performing activities during the school day, or they're organizing things during the school day. If it's a fundraiser or a candy sale or a spirit world sale, those clubs, those activities do meet outside of the school day and provide service outside of the school day. But there are times where they need time to meet during the school day and plan an event or deliver things to classrooms or deliver lessons to their sixth grade peers as the peer leaders do. Okay, so far, these are the things that are laid out as part of this transition process. So the elementary, it says elementary school. The middle school counselors have been visiting their sending elementary schools. So I know, for instance, for Beck, we have Cooper remaining. We visited Bret Hart, Stockton, and Sharp, visited with the 5th grade classes, talked with them about the transition to middle school. We also provide information down to those 5th grade counselors and administrators. We do have the junior high information sessions. Beck will be going first tomorrow night, and then Rosa is on the 12th and Carusi's on the 16th. Parents are welcome to attend any of the sessions. The presentation will be this presentation. There may be some building specific questions, but if you can't make the night for your school, please attend any of the other sessions as well. We also have our new student summer orientation laid out, and that NSO is for all new students. It could be new 6th graders, it could be new 7th graders, it could be new 8th graders. It's not necessarily just 6th graders. We'll be sending save the dates to the elementaries shortly, just to let them know, let their parents know that this is going to be the date where we're going to do the full tour. We're going to do a presentation. We're going to have a resource fair or activity fair. And those dates are established. I'm August 20th at Beck. Christina is also August 20th at Carusi, and Rosa is on August 21st. Then when we hit that first day of school, it actually will be new for everybody, not just the 6th graders. I think a lot of people are keyed in on the 6th graders and their transition. 6th graders actually don't know any different. They're coming from their 5th grade, class in schools. They're coming into middle school. They don't really know. Maybe their brother or sister or sibling has said something to them, but they don't really know the difference. So each of us is looking at some form of time adjusted schedule on those first day or two of school, giving them plenty of time to learn about lockers, learn about the schedule, learn about the expectations for different areas of the building, things that we've always done in our first couple of days of school. But we will also include more information about what this will look like as we go through. And then finally, there are activities and lessons and materials that we have developed over the years, both the Carusi How to Be a 6th Grader program, I think it was called, also through our advisory curriculum committees last year. We have a number of resources in which we are going to be looking to thoughtfully insert preparation for the 6th graders about what does it mean to make that transition, that jump, being self-advocates, knowing what your resources are, asking for help, all of those different things. And it's been really nice, at least from my standpoint, the SGA students have gotten on calls with our 5th graders when we're having our presentations, and they're already front loading that with the 5th graders about what do you do if you think you're lost, or what do you do if you don't know your locker combination. So we'll be building out very intentional structures and opportunities for 6th graders to become middle schoolers.
All right, thank you. And I think, Rebecca, that's a good reminder that grammar does matter, because I think that slide is intended to say, I know it is, elementary school comma, guidance counselor visits in June, right? So it's intended to be
Yes,
the middle
yes.
school counselors visiting the elementary schools in June.
Punctuation matters.
It sure does. All right, questions. Thank you, team, for presenting. We'll stay right there at the mic in case there are questions. I know that I'm sure there are, so we'll open the floor.
Thank you so much. We love having you here tonight. It's such a joy to see the new schedule. We thank you for coming to CNI last week as well. We kind of got a preview of it. So I'm going to let board members ask some questions. Dr. Braddock.
First of all, good job with this particular Tetris game that it looks like on the schedule build. But the schedule build is what I have a question about. And in terms of, if you can go to like slide 7, I think it was the one with the schedule build on it. So the students, there you go, the example schedule build. Yeah. So if students, let's say the grade 6 student who has their science class split in half to have that lunch there, is there any effort made to place students in classes if they're split, like maybe they're more skilled in that particular area, so the middle break won't disrupt them? Or is there no evidence to say that it would disrupt anybody in that regard? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there any special effort made to identify what students might fit in those split classes?
That's definitely something we can look into. We don't have any evidence that would suggest that somebody would be able to handle that in a different manner.
Okay.
It's more about creating routines. And that's been the effective way to be able to schedule anything that we do. We even talked about how actually having a break in a class is actually something that's great for kids as well.
Yeah.
Because the teacher would then plan their plan around that to have that chunk time to be able to have a little mid breaking point. And sometimes we do have breaks in our classes, and we do that as I used to do as I taught in the classroom. But this would be something that naturally happens on a daily basis.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Fain.
A comment, and then I'll ask my really quick question first. Can you remind me or clarify the dates for orientation and the schools that we're doing which one on the 20th and 21st?
Yeah, so for junior high or for a new student orientation, Carusi and Beck are on August 20th and Rosa is on August 21st.
Thank you. And then the only comment that I wanted to make, so we only see 3 of the many people in the committee in front of us. And in the CNI committee, we got the full presentation from, I'm not even sure if it was the full committee that put all the work into this. I'm assuming it's not, but it was many people in the room. And I really just wanted to commend the amount of effort that went into this. I know that there's a lot of stress in the community about what this is going to look like, but we were reinforced by some of the people in the room that we used to do this. And now we're just going back to our old ways. And I just wanted to make sure that we're emphasizing the amount of work, and every single question that we asked in committee, the response was, well, we considered that, and this is why we did it. So I just really wanted to thank you for all of the work that you and the rest of the committee put into this.
Dr. Dreisen.
Thank you. I just want to build on Mr. Fain's comments because I think I told Ms. Stern after CNI, it was my favorite meeting on the board so far. And so I just love this. I think this is a great example of the district doing the how. And so credit to Dr. Morton and the team for recognizing the realities and then really leaning in. As Mr. Fain said, we had the opportunity in CNI to just see the collaborative effort that went into this. And it was really energizing and exciting, I think. And it made me grateful, and feel privileged to be a board member to get to be part of the discussions. I just also wanted to highlight how much, and I share this in CNI, but the thought that went into framing this and just the focus on protecting our non-negotiables, I think that was a great place to start, and how that grounded all the work that came subsequently. So just thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just very briefly and similarly, when I first went through the presentation, I was impressed at how detailed it was, although I was not part of the CNI meeting, so I didn't have the benefit of hearing really all the work. I knew what had to have gone into it, and a lot of it made just a ton of sense to me, but a lot of it, there aren't things that I necessarily would have thought of, and to me that spoke to one of the reasons why, and this is not often, it's not spoken of enough, how well I think the administration and the board has begun to work together over the last couple of years. And we are not the experts, and you are. And so, I was very comforted by, knowing that the work, and I'll just use the schedule build as an example. There was so much clearly that went into that, to, things that because I'm not an expert in these sorts of things, I would not have thought of, but looking at it now, I can see how much sense it makes. And so that's great to see. And I have great trust in all of you and your committee and in the administration. I do have a question though, and it's really not a specific question, and it probably isn't a fair one, but I just feel like I need to ask it. You clearly have passion and you're excited about what's coming, and which is good to see because we need that. My question really is where is the staff when you talk to the staff that will be doing this, actually doing the work? Where are they? How are you communicating with them? What are you hearing from them, and what is their level of excitement? I'm sure there's a little bit of concern because there's a change. Could you talk to me a little bit about where they are, how you're communicating with them, and how that's going?
So I think it's like any change, right? There's a wide range of emotion that gets, attached to a big change. There's everything from, some of our scheduling team are those very logical, analytical problem solvers, and they're like, okay, we're gonna build it, we're gonna figure it out, we're gonna fix it, and they kind of are leading that charge. For some people, obviously there was impact to staffing, so for some people this is, had a negative impact. I think overall, in talking with my staff, and I don't know if John and Christina have had the same experience, people are just ready to lean in and do the work. We're always going to take care of kids, right? The kids are going to show up. The doors are going to open. Kids are going to come. We're always going to take care of kids. The structure is the structure. We're going to encounter hiccups, right? We're going to get to September 10th and go, oh my gosh, that really didn't work. Or there's a major snafu here. We got to revisit. We got to come back. We got to figure this out. But everybody is ready for a little bit of a break through summer, rejuvenation, re-exploration. Some people are exploring new teaching assignments, right? So they're going to re-engage by reading all of that 6th grade ELA canon that they haven't maybe touched in a couple of years. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do what we do for kids, which is take care of them, educate them, grow them, make sure they have that safe and positive learning environment to hopefully one day sit in the chairs of the board reps, or be a part of the student voice driving some of the change and some of the work that goes on in the district. So people are ready for a break, but they are ready to lean in and take care of kids.
Mr. Mayor, I would add that there are two structures that we're committed to, that we've put in place, and we've spoken to the principals, and I believe they've communicated to the staff already. The first is that our scheduling team will remain intact through the summer and into the fall. So that way we'll have the ability to get real-time feedback and make changes, evolve, grow as those things occur in real time. The other is through the CNI office, who's given some days, some professional days back to the building for in-service time. So if you look at the in-service calendar for next year, there's many days have been added back. They are no longer district days; they are building days, and that gives our junior high team the additional time they need to support their teachers, who ultimately we count on to support the kids. So those two structures will be in place. Those are intentional and deliberate to support the initiative.
Ms. Palmer.
Okay, so I will be brief. I was at the CNI committee meeting, and I'm asking this question again tonight, but for a reason, because I think the conversation we had the other night was really valuable. So one of my first concerns was around that split period around lunch, and whether those transitions, whether you expected that transition would be difficult for kids. But there was also a lot of conversation around how things like maybe a science lab or a testing day, particularly for students who might need more time. So can you speak to sort of what you've considered, how those situations might be handled? Because I appreciated the amount of thought that had already gone into that.
Yeah, we have people just such as Rebecca, myself, who have taught the split schedule in different kinds of situations. But with that, we're flexible schools. I mean, we do it all the time. When we find a specific need and we have the teachers come to us, we're going to be able to be flexible and make things work out, because things that are going to be unable to occur during that period are going to be very far and few between. But when they come up, as you said, we're going to be monitoring our schedules throughout the year. We're going to be talking, getting the input from the teachers. Just like when we did the process, we had the lenses of so many teachers involved with this, so their voices were there. So we heard about that. For example, one of the things we know that won't work on that split time is PE class. And mainly because they have to get changed. The students are getting changed. They're going to be out. They're going to be running and sweaty. And if we told them, all right, pause in the middle of your game and come in and eat, and then go back out, we're going to have some problems. So we're thoughtful with that. So I know that we're going to be thoughtful on how we move forward. But again, middle school is always going to be the same thing, that we can be flexible. So we do have those opportunities, just like we're going to do for the sixth graders as we orient them in the first couple of days.
And then speaking specifically, I think to students that might need extended time or have different accommodations, I taught a split schedule at Lower Marion High School. It actually in some ways benefited us because we were able to chunk that if it was an assessment or they're working on an independent project or they're working even on a group project. You guys have 20 minutes. You're going to work on this chunk. We expect you to get to this point. Then everybody's taking a pause. Everybody goes to lunch. Everybody comes back. Then at the end of the day, if there's a student that needs additional time, right, needs additional time for an assessment or a writing sample or whatever it might be, that is provided on that same day in the win period, as long as they're not going to chorus, which is going to be sacrosanct, right? They might have to pick that up the next day, but that extra time will be provided within the schedule. And the kids adjust really well to routines. I was in a sixth grade classroom today. The teacher needed like 3 seconds to get everybody up, ready to go, lined up at the door, ready to go for dismissal. It was, seamless. So when we create intentional routines and structures, we practice them with fidelity. We praise them and are consistent. The students, young adults, they get it. They get it better than we do, like, to be honest. So the kids are going to do better with this than probably us as teachers. All of those things have been thought about pretty carefully.
Ms. Gallagher.
So will this presentation be linked anywhere so parents who can't make it to the meetings can access it?
I'll share. Yeah, Ms. Gallagher, we actually sent this presentation out in the CHIPS Weekly this last Sunday, and we'll also have it posted under BOE meetings for the month of June.
And then kind of piggybacking on what Mr. Mayor was talking about, the teachers and or staff, how they might be feeling. I've heard a lot of chatter from parents. How are you kind of, dispelling any concerns from parents if there's like consistent, concerns that you're hearing and, just curious.
I don't mind starting, and then I'll turn it over to John. But I'll tell you, as the father of 4 children, each time one of my kids left the safety and security of the elementary school, which we always knew, there was always that level of angst in our family because we knew they were going to the bigger middle school, right? So I don't think that it's uncommon for parents to have angst about transition. I think that's natural. Spoiler alert, it's going to happen again when they leave the junior highs and head to high school. And now in the phase of life that I'm in, it's happening when they're leaving high school to head to college. So I don't think the angst is new. I think it may be different this year because there is a complexity to the change. What the principals won't say about themselves, so I'll do a little humble brag for them, is that they do the extraordinary daily in terms of what it means to be 11 to 14 and the amount of development that occurs in a child at that age, second only to the first 2 years of life when they learn to walk and talk. And there are complexities, that is an understatement, that occur every single day right now. And those things typically don't get airtime because the principals do such an amazing job of dealing with those circumstances that arise. So when I think about the split schedule, or I think about not starting with advisory, I think in a very short amount of time, it will become the way we've just always done business. And the principals will continue to maintain the environment the way they have, not just in the schedule we have now, but any schedule going forward.
And having the meetings that we're going to be consistent. And quite frankly, we love what we do. So when we just talk to parents and just make sure that we make sure everybody understands that what we're doing is in the best interest of kids, and that's exactly what our lens is. That's how we're going to dispel any of those issues and make sure that we're open and transparent. People can ask the questions and we'll be able to talk to them. If people have suggestions, we always take them and listen to them.
Ms. Stern.
So I have just a few questions and comments. So first question is, because I wasn't at the CNI meeting, what went into the decision to have WIN at the end of the day?
A number of things that popped up. One is, again, the critical focus on music. It's one of the things that I had been after Sue Mark for a couple of years to try to apply to be a nationally recognized district of music education. But now I'm going to have to pressure someone else into that. Really, you have to have that time. They need the time to rehearse. They need to be able to pull the time for students where it's not pitting them against something else. So music was critical. We looked at the beginning of the day versus the end of the day. And to be frank, like getting to school on time, a little bit of a challenge sometimes in Cherry Hill. There's traffic, there's rain, there's weather, there's bus delays. We really felt like having it at the end of the day would allow for students to be in on time, going to class right away, getting academics accomplished. And at the end of the day, having the opportunity to come back together. If it is go to music, if it is get extra help, if it is just take a breath, take out all your stuff, check your Google Classroom, go to your locker, drop off the note for the nurse, drop off your field trip forms, kind of just a breather at the end of the day. And then we also limit the amount of times that when we have sports dismissals, busing has been tight with our sports dismissals. Now you're not impacting instructional time. You're not having a repetitive draw, of 20 or 30 minutes for the baseball team going to wherever, Medford or Woodstown or whatever it may be. So we looked at it in a lot of different ways. The end of the day really just seemed to be kind of fit all of those things and provide that time for the entire school to kind of take a collective breath, pull together in some areas, and also provide planning or PLC time for teachers.
Thank you. In terms of supporting the administration and staff, through this transition, because, I think as we just touched on a minute or two ago, there's a lot of angst with transition, not just for the students and families, but also typically for anybody in a workplace, right? Something's changing, until you start to live the change and get a better understanding of it. It's usually stressful or anxiety producing. The unknown is really hard for most humans. So I guess I'm just wondering, are there things that we can do to support, all the work you guys have been doing to go through this transition?
I would say stay tuned. I mean, we're going to monitor what's going on. No, we feel very supported. I gotta be honest, I'm not as anxious about the new schedule as I am about presenting tonight. I mean, these are normal things that we do. We work with kids, and we're ready to take this on. It's not as much of a challenge as we're going to make it ours, and we're excited by that.
That's pretty fair.
I just want to add one thing. So I really want to say that I had our faculty meeting today, and while change is hard, I think that one of the most important things to remember is how our teachers, that's what we do. We're used to change. We start something new. We have a new school year every year. We're excited about the new pens and papers and organization and lesson planning and all of that. That makes us a different breed. So I think while it is change, it's change that we're somewhat used to. And so we're going to have to support our staff through it. We're going to communicate and be clear with them. But I think it's something that we are, we're ready for that challenge. We're excited for it. And we know that we have to give each other a lot of grace, right? Just grace and understanding and listening to each other to make sure that we support each other throughout the whole year. So it's not just a sixth grade transition, but it's really a transition for all of us, and to really lean on each other. And one of the things as an admin team here, which is really nice that you may not see all the time, is how much we rely on each other and communicate to make sure we're delivering a clear message from all of us. So
Thank you. Yeah, I think both of you, actually, this was a new year, first year for both of you in your schools. So yeah, I mean, definitely adapting to change all the time. I just want to thank all of you and all the other people who are involved, as Mr. Fain mentioned, who are not here tonight. Dr. Dreisen, you and I had a conversation when this first came up, which was, I mean, came into the public discussion, I want to say maybe 2 months ago. I mean, it wasn't even that long ago. I think we're all pretty, honest about the fact that, what drove us to do this at this moment in time had to do with, budgetary considerations. Budgetary considerations, having budget cuts, a pretty big lemon, and I think the lemonade that you guys have made and are making is phenomenal, and par for the course, right? I think, to your point, all of you have talked about like how you do this every day. You adapt to change all the time. You adapt to different difficult conditions, or changing conditions, I should say, sometimes difficult, sometimes not. When Dr. Dreiser and I were talking about it, I said, this, remember last year when we had a big change too with, the movement of the Coles program, from this building to East. And, it's like, the decision was announced, and then like really quickly there was like so much work that went into that, to the tune that like, by the time we got to visit the program, it was amazing, and that was, I don't know if we visited in September, maybe. I mean, it was so early when we visited. And I have so much confidence, that I mean, here we are like 2 months later, and like, look at all the work that's been done, all that's been figured out. It really is just, this district, our amazing administrators and staff, you guys rally. I mean, that's just the reality, you rally and you adapt. And I think we all need to really, acknowledge that. So I just want to thank you guys. And just last thing that I'll say is, as having had 3 children go through middle school in this district, I really appreciate the focus on organizational skills. I think when I have seen not just my kids, but other kids, struggle in high school, I see where having those foundational organizational skills, this is such a critical moment for them to develop that. I'm hoping, because it's a junior high model, it sounds like there's a little more emphasis even than prior in middle school, perhaps model. I don't know. There's more, or maybe more time allocated in the schedule. I think it's only going to benefit the kids. And I think, you see how much they need that even throughout high school. So, anyway, thank you all. I mean, kudos, really. And, I think as needs arise, and we can support, I feel like, I'll for myself, I'll say, please come back and let us know, let us know what we can do to support. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well, one way we're supporting is that board members will be appearing at all 3 of the middle schools to support the meetings that you're holding with the community. So we will all be there, I think 2 or 3 members at least at each middle school to support you through this. So we're really excited to see what comes of it. I think change is hard, but there's a lot of really positive things coming out of this middle school transition. Having a middle schooler, now a junior high schooler myself, I'm really excited to see it in action. So unless there are other questions, I really want to thank you guys for everything you put into this, and we'll see you at the 3 junior high schools. Thank you so much. All right, we have one additional presentation tonight. We have HIB updates by Dr. Mahan and Ms. Siobhan Carter.
Okay, good evening, everyone. As Ms. Winters said, my name is Farah Mahan. I'm one of the assistant superintendents, and I'm here with Siobhan Carter, who is the supervisor of student services. We are closing out the school year. This is our first year working together on HIB, so thank you for your patience with us as we have continued to improve the HIB process and see the process through a different lens. We are before you this evening as a follow-up to the February presentation and survey. We are going to be introducing the customer service survey that we already discussed, and to present findings of the customer service survey and trends we have noticed so far this academic year. We anticipate that the information that you hear this evening will lead to some changes and overall to improve our process around HIB, particularly education of our community. We are excited to discuss a reduction in the number of affirmed HIBs and how we are moving forward for the 26-27 school year. So this scatter plot or word bubble, whatever your preference is for calling it, are words that survey respondents used in open-ended responses on the customer service survey. We shared a similar slide in February. For this presentation, the word process stands out. That was also a word that we noticed in the February presentation. So this continues to be an area that we need to provide particular attention to. Keep these words in mind as we progress through the presentation, as we will revisit this slide later. I would like to highlight that over the past 3 years, we have seen a decrease in founded cases while unfounded cases are up, which is an indicator that more incidents are being reported but do not constitute HIB. While we are optimistic that our founded cases are decreasing, we recognize again through process that continued education of harassment, intimidation, and bullying is necessary. This slide provides HIB data as it relates to total cases over the last 3 school years. The cases are from September 1 to June 3rd. As you can see, 2022-23, 73 founded cases, 23-24, there were 74 founded cases, and for 24-25, we've had 59 founded cases. So just as a reminder, in February, we developed a customer service survey that will be completed by families after an incident of HIB. The survey is designed to be disseminated and completed by the alleged offender and the alleged victim's parent or guardian. Since we began dissemination in April, there have been 35 responses. However, only 25 individuals completed the entire survey. So as we move through the slides, please keep this in mind as the numbers may differ. On this slide, just to demonstrate when we started to distribute the customer service survey, again, our first distribution was after the April 8th meeting. Prior to dissemination of the survey, we gathered feedback from principals, assistant principals, and anti-bullying specialists from across the district. The survey has been disseminated after the April 8th, the April 21st, the May 6th, the May 21st, and the June 3rd Board of Education meetings. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Carter. She will jump into some of the responses from the survey.
So here are the grade levels of the respondents and what they're associated with. As you can see, majority of our respondents represent grades 3 through 8. This slide shows the schools that the respondents are associated with. Again, aligned with the previous slide, a large portion of the respondents identified as attending Woodcrest, Cooper, and Beck as a school of attendance. Here we have participation breakdown based on the role of the student in the incident as reported by the respondents. 40% of respondents were listed as an alleged victim. 60% of respondents were listed as an alleged offender. This question helps assess parent engagement with the HIB informational resources and identifies opportunities to improve outreach and accessibility of the parent university sessions. 39% of respondents attended or viewed the HIB sessions. 60% of respondents did not attend or view the HIB sessions. Now we'll hone in on responses specific to the elements associated with harassment, intimidation, and bullying process. This slide provides us with the information regarding communication. We asked for feedback on whether the HIB letters the respondent received were informative. 16% of respondents agreed and or strongly agreed. The previous survey actually was 17%. 20% of respondents were neutral. The previous survey stated there was 25%. And 64% of respondents disagreed or strongly disagreed. The previous survey was at 59%. We recognize that the HIB letter is vague. However, we have updated the letters numerous times while also considering the Anti-Bully Bill of Rights and New Jersey Department of Education guidelines. We will continue to brainstorm ways to make the letter more transparent in regards to the incidents. While the changes to the letter have not yielded the positive survey results we strive for, you will see on the next few slides that our intentional efforts to share information and inform parents and students has been very positive. To assess the level of support offered, we asked respondents to share their perspectives on how helpful the school was in communicating information about the harassment, intimidation, and bullying process. As you can see, 52% of respondents agreed and or strongly agreed. 12% of respondents were neutral, and 36% of respondents were either disagreed or strongly disagreed. To further assess the level of support offered, we asked respondents if the school shared resources related to HIV. 56% of respondents agreed and or strongly agreed. 16% of respondents were neutral, and 28% of respondents either disagreed or strongly disagreed. While the survey demonstrated that the resources were shared, when asked whether the resources provided by the school were helpful in understanding and navigating the HIV process, respondents overwhelmingly disagreed. 8% of the respondents either agreed or strongly agreed. 24% of respondents were neutral, and 68% of respondents either disagreed or strongly disagreed. This data shows a disconnect between availability and usefulness. Now let's take another look at this slide to review the decrease in overall founded HIV cases. As we can see, in 22-23 school year, we had 73 founded cases. As compared to 23-24, there were 74 cases. And during this school year, we had 59 cases, so it has decreased.
In thinking about the HIV data as it relates to the main areas of motivation for HIV, we noticed that most cases reported that the HIV incident was motivated by either race, ethnicity, origin, trendy language, meaning things that students are hearing on social media, or appearance. So we cannot stress enough that language, which may be acceptable at home, on social media, or within friend groups outside of school, may not be appropriate in the school setting. As we continue to educate our students, families, and community regarding HIV, we will continue to stress school-based expectations. As shared at the beginning of the presentation, we recognize that process is one that families are focused on. I must stress again that we are following all laws outlined by the New Jersey Department of Education, but we recognize that transparency of process is important to building trust within the community around HIV. So that is something that we will continue to work on. Over the next few slides, Ms. Carter and I will talk about different things that we have implemented this year and will implement for next year. So as the administrative liaison to the Board of Education Policy and Legislative Committee, as a collective group, we have taken a look at the HIV policy, information on the website, dissected the language, reviewed all of the language to ensure consistency across all of the platforms. And I highlight this because there are parallel conversations going on across the district to inform and improve the HIV process. As you will see on this slide, here are some of our current practices in place to ensure this, although we recognize again that there is always room for improvement. Some of these practices include alignment to the anti-bullying Bill of Rights, information posted on the district and all school websites, monthly meetings with school anti-bullying specialists, access to the district anti-bullying coordinators for support and answering of all questions, training for staff, and the utilization of Hibster.
After reviewing the data we collected in the survey, we began brainstorming on how we can start improving the overall HIV process, and more specifically, our communication. As a result, the current changes listed here were implemented with these improvements in mind. The first three bullets were addressed by dissemination of the surveys and review of the collected data. Parents have an opportunity to provide feedback via a survey that includes targeted questions and an open-ended response. The multi-layer review of HIV cases ensures an increased alignment of the HIV process across all schools. Access to NJ4S provides increased emotional support to students experiencing difficulties in school, including HIB. Training sessions have been conducted and are underway for various stakeholders to increase the tools that they have so they are better equipped to act as an advocate and to support. The following items provide tangible and easily accessible information for all stakeholders. We have our infographic that provides a condensed timeline of the HIB process, the Parent University sessions, which provides training in 4 segments, hearing process document, which provides a detailed process for parents to appeal, and last but not least, we have our chain of communication, which provides communication information. This slide provides the changes we implemented during the 24-25 school year. HIB letters will continue to be revised as we consider feedback from our survey respondents and recent policy changes. We conducted a website crosswalk for alignment of forms, policy, and language and tools to ensure that as parents are looking for proper resources, everything is easily accessible. We established a continuous monitoring system through our customer service survey. We developed and delivered targeted training for students. Forthcoming in the 25-26 school year, we have the following items that we're looking forward to. For early and consistent communication for families as a scripted message will be provided at back to school night, grades pre-K to 12th grade. Next, a refresher training will be facilitated for administrators and anti-bully specialists to communicate changes and process expectations. A new form will be added to Genesis for all parents to acknowledge pertinent information related to HIB. We will continue to provide student training. And last but not least, we will continue to implement revised HIB protocols across all schools. And now Farah will close us out with our last slide.
Thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to present the HIB information to you. I'm sure next year, as part of our district goals, we will be presenting again on how, again, we have continued to improve the process for HIB. And with that, any questions?
Thank you so much to both of you for the presentation. I think board members would agree that this time last year, we were really struggling with HIBs and questioning how to move forward. It was why it came forward in our goals from last year. And I just want to acknowledge all the work that has gone into this. The progress is visible, and we really love to see all the work that you're doing. I wanted to kick off by just mentioning that Mr. Greenbaum and I attended the Cooper PTA meeting, I believe it was last week. And this HIBs were the topic of conversation that the parents and families raised the most. So I think your presentation is timely and effective. And I hope that it informs parents of all the actions that you all are taking to improve the process. Board member questions, Mr. Mayor.
No question, just comments. Dr. Mahan and Ms. Carter, thank you. Because obviously sit on the committee with you, I've gone through a lot of this work with you. I see the work that you've put into it. I think what we've seen, at least my take on a lot of this data, confirms for the most part, the areas that we've already knew could use some massaging and some improvement, and still can, and it's moving in the right direction. So certainly happy to see that. And I think it bears some comment that a lot of the work that we want to do, we wish probably we could overhaul a lot of this, to make things even easier and even better and smoother for families that are involved on either side of these, but we're constrained by what the law requires us to do. So, there are those guardrails that, that really hamper what we can do, and also dictate a lot of the language, unfortunately, which tends to be frustrating, I think, for many families. That said, the work that has gone into the letters has improved. And I think hopefully we're seeing that even in the data and the fact that we have fewer founded HIBs. I would also certainly, I'm happy to see, happy probably is the wrong word, but it's important to see that there is an understanding of the importance of communicating better to families and to our community, and the importance of recognizing that behaviors and language which may be appropriate or accepted in one area, whether it's the home or a playground, is not necessarily acceptable in the school, and could lead to consequences. So better understanding and education in those areas, I think is certainly warranted, and welcome an opportunity to help craft some of that language through our committees. But overall, thank you again for the presentation, for the work, and look forward to more updates in the future.
Ms. Gallagher.
Dr. Mahan and Ms. Carter, when is the customer service survey sent to the families who were involved in HIBs?
Sorry. So we have our board meeting tonight. The letters will go out tomorrow. So we give the parents time to receive the letters, to digest the letters, and then we send them out. So they go out next week on Tuesday. So the survey will go out based on the letters that go out tomorrow.
Okay, so it's not like once a HIB is closed, then the survey goes out. It kind of all happens at one time during the year, or multiple chunks. Is that?
It happens after every board meeting.
Oh, I see. Okay. And then, okay, that makes sense. All right, thank you. Oh, no, so the customers, so yes, so I know that the results of the board meeting vote goes out after board meetings. That's also when the survey goes out too.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Dr. Braddock.
Thanks very much for the information. Especially heartened to see HIBs go down from last year to this year, the founded ones anyway. Just very quickly, do you have any impression as to whether there's a difference between either alleged victim and alleged perpetrator, how they're answering the customer service survey? I'm thinking that people who are the perpetrators, like their parents might be a little less satisfied with the founded outcome than a victim. So that might come out in the survey.
It's about even that we found looking at all of the data from all of the surveys that are coming in.
Okay, thanks very much.
There are board member questions. Ms. Stern.
A couple of things. I think we're always obviously looking to do better, right? And I think we can see that, there's been some nice progress, which is great, just in terms of communication, in terms of, trying to make the experience just slightly less difficult, because these are difficult experiences for our students and for their families. We're the ones who sit and read them and listen to the appeals. We see how difficult this is. I think in trying to look at making some progress, I think the feedback from Mrs. Winters, that this was like a big topic at a recent PTA meeting. I think it's not happening in a vacuum, right? We can absolutely recognize that kids and adults are being exposed to a lot more things than we ever were before, through just all of the technology access that we have, all of us. And I think, we see a lot more data coming out about the impact that it has on, mental health, on, social interactions, coming out of COVID. There's so many factors, but I think ultimately, there is still a very wide gap between digital natives and digital non-natives. I don't actually know what the right term is. So I'm not a native, right? I mean, I had some technology growing up, but certainly not what kids have now. So I think helping parents have the tools they need, for those parents who are looking for the tools to understand just all of the ways in which kids may be exposed to these kinds of interactions and language that's going on. And I think oftentimes it's very it starts out as very unintentional, but it can easily snowball without an understanding. And I think it's a lot of it. It's about just kind of understanding how these things can work, where these things come from. I'm really curious to see what input we might get even from our students, from our student body. Especially, we have our new high school reps this year, maybe they'll have input from their peers about, we're trying to make an impact on how students talk to each other, how talk to one another, how students treat one another, with the language people use, what can help. Not that it's a new problem. It's a problem as old as time, right? I think that, those of us who went to school many years ago, there were bullying and incidences then too. But I think, we really, I think there are other factors we really want to make an impact on. And I guess along those lines, I'm wondering, Mrs. Carter, I'm looking forward to hearing from you, your recommendations as you're really kind of trying to, look at recommended changes. And, I don't know if it makes, if there's an interest, if it's come up at LMC, but to me, that's another great place to bring a lot of different viewpoints and experiences together to problem solve it. Everyone has a different vantage, right? So, just some thoughts, but ultimately I think, we want to do everything we can to kind of equip everybody to, recognize that, treating people with respect, as we go into our strategic plan, it's such a fundamental piece, the civility piece. It's important. It's really important, and whatever we can do to improve it. So
thank you. Any other members? Thank you so much. I think the work you're doing is incredible. And I think all of us here on the board appreciate everything that you've put into this. Like I said, a year ago, this was a hot topic on the board that we were struggling with. And I think as we move forward, the flip side of the HIBs is to what Ms. Stern alluded to, which is the culture and climate that we want in our schools, and that we lead with empathy always and treat each other with respect. So I'm hopeful that as a district, we can continue to lead in that direction. And thank you for all the work that you've done on this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have our very last bond project update from Mrs. Sugars during her tenure here. Board members are now shaking in their shoes. We're going to start crying. Ms. Sugars is smiling. Take it away.
Yeah, so not only is it my last project update, but it'll be the last one that we do until September, mainly because we have a ton of work that will be going on over the summer. And we like our professionals and our B&G staff to be able to focus on that. So we'll pick these back up starting in September. So not much has changed with our APRs. We are coming down the home stretch with our 6 APR additions. We had our monthly update on Monday, and we followed that up with a tour. So we had board members that got to see the interior of the night APR, and so gives you a feel for where we are with the finishes, how we're coming down the home stretch here. You can see these pictures here that we are wrapping up some of these projects. The straggler, I guess, is Sharp. Sharp was the one that started the latest. And so we are in the process of finishing up that building there. But we are coming down the home stretch with that project, and very excited for those. We also this summer will be working on playgrounds for both Barton and Sharp, to get those projects done as well. So we're very excited to see what all of that looks like in September with new playgrounds and new spaces for our buildings to use. Also, our next big project, we also, with that board tour, had an opportunity to visit Carusi. We have put our TCUs in place so that we can continue our work at Carusi. We have 2 phases of work that will be happening there. We have a yellow phase and a blue phase. So the yellow phase, as you can see here, is work that will have to be completed before the start of school in the fall because of the access to the gymnasium area and the cafeteria area. So that will be the focus this summer. And then the blue area is the reason why we have the TCUs. That work will continue through the course of the school year. And so that's why we will be putting students in those temporary classroom units so that work can continue. Speaking of the TCUs, when we went to see the TCUs with the board last week, we got to see the structures, but we did not have electricity and water yet, but we do now. So I popped over there this morning to take a few pictures. Really, I think when you're in those units, you don't feel like you're in TCUs, which is great. The buildings are bright and I'm sure will look wonderful once the teachers get a hold of them. But the floors were polished, the bathrooms are operating, the electricity is working. We have a few minor fire alarm kind of things that we have to finalize before we will get our TCO, but the plan is to hopefully in the next week or so be able to start filling these with furniture and all the other good stuff that we'll need in those units to get them ready for September. Also, we have work through our ROD grants going on at both Kilmer and Malberg. We know that this is on a deadline to be completed by December 20th so that we can welcome additional preschoolers into our program starting in January. That work is progressing very well. We have walls and we have brick and we have roofs. And we're starting with electrical and plumbing and all those kinds of things. So that's very exciting to see. This is Malberg. So that work is happening there. And then just as a reminder, over the summer, they will be adding 13 toilet rooms to the 13 classrooms at Malberg that currently do not have them. So there will be a ton of work happening there. And again, that 13 classrooms worth of work has to happen before school starts in the fall. And then at Kilmer, also you can see we have roofs, we have walls. And so we're very excited about that work there as well. So again, this summer, a lot of things that are going on. We will have the bathroom additions going in. We have additions and renovations at Rosa Middle School. We have started some of that work with some of the outside demo work. Cooper and Beck site work. So that will be, if you're facing Beck, the west side parking lot and the parking lot, the front entrance and parking area at Cooper, including a new playground for Cooper. Beck Middle School, we will be working on the front entrance, installing a vestibule and remodeling the front office there. West Stadium, that work will start after the fireworks, and we will be adding lighting and ADA accessibility there. And then, as I mentioned, the Barton and Sharp playgrounds. So we're underway with that as well. So just a few things going on this summer. And then as we continue to plan, as you know, we're constantly, we meet weekly and we're constantly planning for the future. So as we start to look at projects moving forward, critical HVAC phase 2 to address some of the areas that we know need to be addressed sooner rather than later. Elementary school security vestibules, we've started asbestos containing material inspections to get those projects off the ground. Phase 2 for Beck Middle School, and then the auditorium at East, and then F Wing at East and auditorium at West. So constantly planning, talking, strategizing how to move forward with these projects. And then if we look at where our spending is at this point, we have spent just under $130 million of our bond referendum. It's about 35% of those funds. We've had some wins in some areas that we are keeping an eye on. But again, we're only 35% of the way into the spending. And so we will continue to track that and keep an eye on that. I have given my spreadsheet to Joanne. I have told her to take care of my baby because it's a very complicated spreadsheet. You know, we will continue to do that as we move forward. Are there any questions?
I just want to kick off by saying, Ms. Sugars, we are fully aware that we over doubled your job when we did this referendum, and you have done mighty, mighty work in moving the business of the district forward. And if we don't say it enough, thank you so much, because this is just a testament to your dedication, professionalism. And I think that the work that you have managed, you and your staff, that is being done will benefit the children of Cherry Hill through the next 30 years and beyond. So thank you. Thank you truly for everything.
Well, thank you for that. I have to say, when I came here 9 years ago, I was warned not to come here because of the condition of the facilities. I came from the Morristown School District where we had beautiful facilities. And so, I knew I took it on as a challenge, and I am, just hoping that I'm leaving it in a better place than when I came here. And it's, probably my biggest regret not seeing the projects finished out. But it's been a pleasure, and it's been really a joy just to see some of these improvements take place.
Thank you so much. Don't worry, we'll invite you back when they're done. Board members, any questions? Ms. Stern.
Just a comment to echo Mrs. Winter's comments. And I think, Mrs. Sugars, I can remember sitting in board meetings and hearing you say after 2018, well, if the bond referendum had passed, and that feeling of regret, that was so strong, it's at least nice to know that you're leaving with all the work underway. And we will, I think, as we are committed to the community to do, I will also say we are committed to, everybody, including you, to do our best as a board to be good stewards of ensuring that we, keep an eye on that and keep, work in partnership with the, Dr. Morton and all the staff to support completion of all the work. So, thank you. It is, your job has at least doubled. And I don't think there has ever been a time that I've ever heard you have a single frustration or complaint about that, which is just, I think this speaks to your character and to your work ethic. So thank you.
Ms. Palmer.
So I was one of the board members that went on the tour last week. And I just, as a parent who has kids who have been in the district for a number of years at this point, I've been, and my kids have learned in some of these buildings, and the feeling walking into, and even, Carusi is the most personal for me, and it's like a third of the way done. We're certainly not there yet, but just the feeling of walking in and the pride that it instills just to see what our facilities will be. I mean, number one, it reinforces that we made the right decision as a community when we voted for the bond, and underscores how critically important that was, how important it is for us to continue to invest and budget and plan for the future. And, I think it was Mr. Greenbaum, I turned to him and I said, I think it was when we were at the APR at Russell Knight, I just said to him, like, our kids deserve to learn and grow up and become people and make memories and have experiences in facilities like this. We are Cherry Hill, we are huge, we are proud, we are a phenomenal district. Our facilities have not historically reflected that. So thank you for the part that you've played in making this happen. And I can't wait to see, where it goes from here.
Any other board members? All right. Thank you, Mrs. Sugars. We appreciate it. Moving on, we have another administrative report tonight. We have an update on our strategic plan and portrait of a graduate by Dr. Morton.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Ms. Winters. I apologize, but there's a lot of great things happening in the district.
Don't
So,
apologize. This is great.
Yeah, it's a number of presentations this evening. All right, so strategic plan. I just wanted to give an overview and to go through this. I guess at our next meeting, we'll put a resolution forward that the board would then vote on to officially adopt or not the strategic plan and portrait of a graduate and moving forward. So this is our blueprint of success. It's a 5-year strategic plan. So this aligns with district goal number 2, action number 3, and the specific language in that goal and action states by the conclusion of the 24-25 academic year, Cherry Hill Public Schools will adopt a comprehensive 5-year strategic plan involving, most importantly, extensive stakeholder engagement. Each one of the bulleted points represents strategies or an action that we had established along with this particular goal here. Extensive stakeholder engagement is something that deviates a bit from the processes that we've followed in the past. So what I'll do is I'll just go through each one of these strategy points and just speak about how we have did what we said that we would do, and we followed through with this goal here. So first and foremost, the first strategy was to identify and engage a vendor to support the facilitation of the process. So we envision a process, again, that would involve the community at large, that would allow the community to weigh in on the vision, ultimately that collectively that we have for our children and for the school district in terms of moving forward. This timeline that sits right behind me over my right shoulder represents the timeline that we followed. And as I'm sure everyone has heard so many times, the vendor that we selected was Hanover Research. Hanover Research was able to present a process that aligned with the vision for stakeholder engagement that we sought. So just to go through each one of these points, we began with a strategic diagnostic survey for the board and the administration in August of 2024. We have 49 participants, you'll see, that participated in that. We then moved to a stakeholders workshop meeting where a representative group of community stakeholders, as well as district administrators and staff, association presidents, all of our experts came together to begin to map out and plan for our vision, our mission, and our core values. There were 30 participants in that. We administered a strategic plan and community survey, and the fall through the winter of 2025. There were approximately 3,400 participants in that survey. We also had community focus groups. There were three distinct groups that participated. Students, staff, and community. That was done in February. We had 61 participants take part in that. We also ran parallel to that Portrait of a Graduate community discussions. Myself and primarily Ms. Roskoff, who's seated there, went and engaged in a number of community discussions. In total, there were about 25, and we obtained survey feedback from 519 participants throughout those 25 meetings. We then held stakeholder workshop meetings, 2 meetings in March. And during that time, that's where the core of the work was done. That stakeholder group took a look at all of the survey data that we had obtained, the focus group feedback that we had obtained, and really began to map out a plan for us for moving forward that included priorities, goals, and additional information that I'll share shortly. That information then went back to Hanover. They submitted a draft literally to me on April 8th. April 8th, I cleaned up that draft a bit, and on April 9th, turned it over to the board, and the board began to work on that. The board really took its role very seriously, and interrogating, analyzing, reviewing the plan with a fine-tooth comb, that ultimately resulted in committee meeting discussions May 5th and 6th that was open to the community, that led to us being able to establish some tangible, actionable feedback that we then implemented into a second draft. At the May 27th meeting, we discussed that feedback, and we were able to formulate a final draft, which now sits in the board agenda for review. So the next strategy: establish and affirm the district's vision, mission, core values, and milestones for achievement. I'm not going to read this specifically, but the vision and mission, again, this is part of the strategic plan itself that's available for community view. But here's the vision and mission that was established. Again, I'm proud of the fact that it's a representative of community voice. I sat in the back of this room here as the community stakeholders really worked through this and grappled through what we wanted the vision to say. If you think about a vision, it's long-term, what we hope for the district to become. And if you think about the mission itself, it's the day-to-day, what we do on a day-to-day basis to support achievement and support learning. The board went through a similar process as well to really grapple through and work through this vision and mission and craft it to include the language that was just right. Core values. So the core values that were established as part of that stakeholders workshop meeting, and then also as part of board discussions as well, had to do with these items here: integrity, empathy, agency and empowerment, equity, and perseverance. Outstanding conversations that took part with our community stakeholders group, particularly as they evaluated the feedback that had been received and collected from the community. Each one of these core values and these tenets of what it is that our district and the behaviors that we hope to see implemented on a daily basis were intentionally placed and intentionally put here. To then move to the next strategy, identify common themes that will serve as cornerstones of the strategic plan. So as part of the plan itself, the plan includes priorities. The 5 priority areas that emerged from the survey feedback and the result that emerged from all of the various feedback we had obtained were these. First and foremost, academic achievement and student success outcomes. Priority 2, I think you'd have to be a hermit not to realize where we've been in the last 2 years with, fiscal allocations. So priority 2 focuses on that. Operational excellence, but there's a primary focus on fiscal responsibility and maximizing efficiencies. Priority 3, student support. Priority 4, climate and family engagement, and then 5, staff recruitment and retention. The next strategy is create goals and establish measures to be tracked for progress and success. Just put this here just to let you know the committee themselves, as they work to create the goals, we use what's called a SMARTY goal criteria. You may have heard of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. But SMARTY also includes 2 additional elements. I stands for inclusive, and E stands for 2 things: explicit language or equitable, and or equitable as well. And that aligns with core values. These are just some definitions just to give substance to the different areas that comprise our strategic plan. So priorities will be the big bucket item areas. Our priority statements are a written description, obviously, of the big bucket areas. We also have aims included. Our aims are the changes or forms of improvement related to the priorities that we ultimately seek. The goals would be the specific outcomes aligned with that SMARTY format. Strategies and actions represent the specific steps that will be taken to accomplish the goals. And then the key performance indicators are the data metrics that will measure accomplishment of the goals. So this is just a sample of one. The document itself is extremely robust. It provides a blueprint, as we said, blueprint for success. It provides the blueprint for our district to follow. And it will be the game plan that our administrative team, our staff will follow as we move forward and as we begin to look toward change. But just to give an example, so under priority 2, operational excellence, the priority statement is Cherry Hill Public Schools will commits to responsible and efficient fiscal and operational stewardship and support of student success. Here's an example of the aim that was laid out there: balance operational priorities with fiscal capacity and responsibility. You'll see the goal under that as well, to ensure fiscal responsibility in the district through efficient resource allocation, transparent processes, and long-term financial sustainability. And then we get down to specific strategies and actions that would allow us to accomplish that goal. And this is just an example of a couple of the key performance indicators. There are more in the plan if you were to review that, but just to give a taste. We also, as I mentioned, ran parallel to strategic plan, portrait of a graduate process. So strategic plan sets our blueprint. It's our game plan for moving forward, contains our goals, our priorities, our goals, our strategies and actions, and our KPIs, while our portrait of a graduate states specifically the attributes, characteristics that we seek to impart into our students as they progress throughout the system, and those characteristics that will be most important that will allow them to succeed even after they graduate. There are two components of this that frame this entire portrait of a graduate, and those two components that frame it are global citizenship and critical thinkers. So at the core of everything that we do, we hope to, or we desire to, or aim to ensure that our students have this understanding of their place as global citizens, and then also they engage in critical thinking at all times. The other attributes that the committee thought was integral as well were adaptability, determination, integrity, advocacy, empathy, and open-mindedness as well. And just if I can say a thing or two about this, part of the next steps in the work as well will be to find opportunities to embed moments for the children to learn the tenets of these characteristics, developmentally appropriate by level, of course. So next steps for us. Next steps, as I mentioned, next steps will be to approve the strategic plan, because after this process is done, we'll jump right back in to additional district planning. We'll do our annual district goals as well. And remember, this strategic plan is a 5-year plan. It lays the foundation and lays the framework for what we will do for the next 5 years. Everything that we do will be attached to this strategic plan. There's nothing that will be out of alignment with that. We'll maintain laser-like focus, but we will develop a district goals for the 25-26 school year. You'll see streamline alignment with the strategic plan goals themselves, but it will be what we accomplish in the 25-26 school year. And then we do the same for the 26-27 school year, and so on and so forth as we move toward the fruition of 2030, the completion of the plan. We look at July, August for that to take place. And then after those are finalized, our building-based administrators will create building-based goals for their specific buildings that align with the district goals, that align with the strategic plan. So there's complete and total alignment across the board. That process should finalize by October 2025. All right, and with that, questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Morton. Do any board members have questions at this time? Mr. Fain.
Okay, so just to confirm, the expectation is that we vote on this next meeting, which is the 24th.
Yes.
I looked at my calendar, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I had a question, but then the last slide kind of clarified it. The version that we have access to now will be the version that we're voting on next meeting.
The content of the plan is what you'll vote on, but the actual plan itself, if you look on the agenda, it says the final format will be adjusted. So the plan is residing with Hanover now. Once the content is approved, they'll then provide us with a different format. The format will be more publication-like. It'll look more like a professional magazine-ish, sort of like Kingsway Regional School District.
Okay. So I guess my question is, from the last meeting when we discussed this, there was talk about sharing this with I believe the stakeholder work group. Is that the only group of people that were able to see what we came up with or what we talked about from last meeting?
Yes.
So there's no anticipated changes to content for after tonight?
No.
Okay. Sorry, I had to take notes because I'm not good at keeping this all in my head. Okay, so I think that's most of my questions about that one. I have a question about the slide that talks about the attributes, and I'm curious because pardon me if we've discussed this before, but I don't recollect a whole lot of discussion on the attributes. I do remember seeing them, but I'm curious as to why the attributes are separate from the core values or how they align. Because it seems to me, when I look at those attributes, they feel like core values for the district as well. So I'm curious as to where that marriage is between the two or how they relate.
Yeah, so the core values represent the behaviors, the collective behaviors that everyone in the organization will adopt to move our strategic plan forward, to move our work forward. It's what we ultimately stand for. The portrait of a graduate are specific to students. They're the attributes that we believe students will need in order to be successful while they're with us, and even more importantly, while they'll need to be successful as they leave us post-secondary and they're out in this uncertain world.
Okay. I think that was all of my questions for now. I think that's it for now.
Thank you. Other board member questions or comments? Dr. Dreisen.
Thank you. I guess just one question and one comment. The question, based on this timeline that we reviewed today, is there any opportunity? I think the slide said that Hanover will get the format in July 1st. Is there any chance for the board to see that format before the vote on June 28th?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I want to over deliver, right, and under promise. So I provided the content to Hanover on May 28th. So
Okay.
after the 27th, when I felt that board was comfortable with the plan itself, I shared that with them, and they began their process. It's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot to do. So that final format, typically there is pictures and.
Sure, no, it makes it legible for the community.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes.
And then the comment is just building on, I appreciated the discussion at our last meeting and in the spirit of moving forward with the core values, this is, I mean, it's fun, but it's also serious, I think. And I think people referenced PI. I think people referenced IEP, related to try to help us remember the core values. Know that all the board members, I'm only speaking for myself, but everyone's putting a lot of work and effort into this. So I'll throw one more into the mix, and it's improving education for each and every person. And if you do improving education for each and every person, that is integrity, empathy, equity, agency, and empowerment, and perseverance. So we can get there. We'll come up with something that is memorable for the community.
Thank you. Any other board member questions or comments? Ms. Gallagher.
So just so I understand, so the final, I don't know, version that's coming from Hanover, that will ultimately be posted on the website?
Yes.
Okay. And then part of discussions previously was like any kind of KPIs that reference, percentages, benchmarks, things like that. All of like kind of the benchmark information will be in, like, I think one of the things that I've had issues with is like, a 5% increase or getting to 75% or whatever the landing point is, understanding the starting point. And so will that information be in the final document so that, we all understand, like, if the goal is 85%, that we're starting at 78% or whatever, like, so that we know where we're going or where we're starting and where we're going.
The final draft, the final formatted draft will be will contain the exact content that's on the agenda now. What you're asking for would be what the administrative team would do in terms of the implementation process. I'm not sure if that's something that they would typically document and then share in that manner on this 5-year plan. As part of the annual plan, there could be some targeting and focus in terms of how we are going to accomplish these specific measures. But on the strategic plan itself, it's not going to deviate in terms of content from what exists currently.
Okay.
Ms. Stern.
A few probably comments. So Dr. Dreisen, I always appreciate your acronyms because I know I know the importance for you, in terms of like let's make this memorable, which I totally get. Um, when I was little, we used to, not little, when my kids were little, we used to go to Hershey Park every year. Sorry, naming it in public. And I remember they did like a focus group, and they said that what is the phrase the sweetest place on earth mean to you? And I was like, I don't know what that means to me. And and it's after going through this focus group, or whatever they it's like the logo, the phrase everywhere, right? And I'm like, I'm not sure why I didn't notice the sweetest place on earth is like the phrase everywhere. um but I think I think it's different for different people. For some people, it's a study technique, right? With students, sometimes we you put it to a song, or make an acronym of it, right? Like um I think, for some people that works, for some people it doesn't. I think, whether or not we have, ultimately, I think people who want to remember it or know about it, I think the important thing to me is making sure we have it accessible, that we're sharing it, that we reference it. Even then, I would say probably 99% of the families in Cherry Hill probably don't know what our current, strategic goals are, right? We hopefully know, and hopefully we all, connect to them, and as do the staff and admin, because they do. But, I think it's, are we meeting the goals, and I think, you and I've had some very, authentic, honest conversations. And in mine, I would say, like, there are things in this plan that I don't love. There are things in this plan I absolutely love. There are things in this plan that I'd love to see added in that weren't added in. And there were many, many, many things that we as a board gave feedback upon feedback upon feedback, and were added in and added further and added further. And I can remember hearing a week or so ago, other elected officials in our country who said, I never read it. I don't know what was in it. I don't know. And I think, gosh, like if we did that, what would happen? Like, we read, and we gave input, and we spoke, and we, and it was, our input was welcome. And I guess, I want to say to Dr. Morton and to your team, again, full transparency, it's not everything I wanted. It's not. But I really like what I see, and I really like what it's become. And most importantly, I'm one person. I may have been elected to represent people and look big picture, but the voices that came through from all of the other sources, and we've heard some of those voices come to the microphone, or email us, or speak out about, like, yes, this was really, knowing that we had our student reps in the room, and they, they were participating. I mean, that's 4,000 kids in our high schools. That's a lot of voices that they represented. So, or almost 4,000. So I feel like we are at a good place. This will be a living, breathing, document. It will be updated in its own way every year with our district goals. And I'm behind it. And I think that's part of our, I feel like we did our due diligence. I think part of our role is to support the work of the district to move forward. And that's where I stand with it. So, I really appreciate it. It was a lot of work on top of a lot of other work that goes on an everyday basis. I'm really glad. I probably will not be on the board when it has to happen again. I don't want to go through this again. And I had probably one of the easiest parts compared to, everybody else involved. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member questions or comments? Ms. Palmer?
So what I don't want to get lost in the conversation is, and I just added them up quickly, we had 4,074 members of the community weigh in on various pieces of this plan over the course of 6 months or so, the majority of that time happening before some of us were even board members. So I truly appreciate, to get 4,000 voices in a district of this size, I think is really remarkable. And then it was the job of those 30 people in that stakeholder community to kind of synthesize everything and really start to put a plan on paper. I'm just wondering, Dr. Morton, what the feedback is that you've gotten from that stakeholder group since they were so essential.
Yeah, I think the feedback itself was somewhat wide ranging. I know the board has received at least feedback from one person that actually reviewed it, but it was wide ranging. I think there was a desire to see the spirit of what the stakeholders committee had sort of crafted out and worked out, to see that remain. I think as we engaged in board discussions that probably were not as common as the actual board did its work in public, right, and worked through some of the thoughts and ideas and things. There was lack of certainty around what remained and what changed. Ultimately, what remained was the core and the essence of, I think, what the committee had planned remained, and it was just built upon, and we, attempted to polish and expand from there. So,
Thank you.
Any other board member comments or thoughts? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to correspondence, I am going to start on this side of the room this time with Ms. Palmer.
Sure. And Mrs. Winters, if you have anything to add to this, feel free. So last week, I think it was Tuesday, but days all blend together at this point. Mrs. Winters and I attended the graduation of the students in the Coles program. So it was my first time actually visiting the Coles program. It was, I met Lauren Giordano, the principal. The teacher speeches where they reflected on the time that they'd spent with some of the students, I think was really moving to me. So I appreciated the opportunity to be there on behalf of the board. Mrs. Winters, I don't know if you have anything else to add. It was, and I know this was a special one because it was the program's first year at East. I know there was a lot of uncertainty this time last year, a lot of big feelings in the community. I hope the sense that I got is that, this first year was a phenomenal success. Everybody that we spoke to was really truly happy. The smiles on the faces of the students were so great to see. I think it's always a good reminder of why we do what we do, whether it's the administration, our teachers, us as board members. So I appreciated the opportunity to be there.
Under report.
Ms. Stern.
So I missed our last meeting, so I didn't get a chance to report that I went to the Cum Laude Society induction ceremony, which was at Cherry Hill High School East on May 14th. And lots of, it's great event, great. And I've been before, it doesn't disappoint. And so the Cum Laude Society are our students, I believe it's all juniors and seniors because there's not, it's not any students who are earlier on. So upper class people only. And they are typically students who are in many ways kind of, they're very engaged and they're achieving, at higher levels academically in our schools. And they provide, actually, some of us know they provide tutoring to the, kind of peer tutoring in our schools. But it's a really cool ceremony. And the motto of Cum Laude, and it's by the way, it's we're just one chapter of it from around the country. The motto is and I won't try to pronounce the Latin words, the concepts of excellence, justice, and honor. But dignity and true worth, moral excellence, not just academic excellence. It's not superiority. They're very specific about that. And then also, justice and standing up for others. It was really cool. The teachers, there were several teachers who were honored. And, you can just listen to them and understand why they were being honored, why they love teaching. One of the teachers, I was like, I wish I could have sat through his class, man. It was, so, they're just very engaging. And it was nice to see the kids honored. For me, it was really nice because I know some of those kids because they're, they're seniors and that's where my kids are. So great event. And, kudos to the kids for being honored, and for achieving that. It's hard. It's hard to be at that level, and maintain that. I was never a cum laude kid, so I was very impressed. Cum laude student. And I also attended the zone PTA breakfast with Mrs. Winters, which is an event that's held every year, which is always lovely. It's held at High School West. A lot of administrators and many of the PTA presidents and other, I think mostly the presidents attend, and just a nice end of the year, thank you and recognition. Just kind of casual, get to see people and chat with people in a different environment. So I think, am I doing the 5K? No, I'm not doing the 5K. Okay, yeah, Mrs. Sherfain's doing the 5K. That's it.
Mrs. Sherfain.
I was going to start with something different, but I guess I'll start with the 5K. So I believe mostly all of us attended the 5K that Ms. Roscoff put on May 31st, which was a success. I believe the foundation raised over $2,000 for that. So kudos to that. And just a special shout out that our stamina to sit through these meetings was reflected in some of our performance at the 5K, and Dr. Dreisen, Ms. Gallagher, and myself walked away with medals in our age group. So pretty consistent with the ability to sit here for hours. But anyway, so I also, along with Dr. Dreisen, attended the virtual conference titled the Spring Virtual Conference put on by NJSBA, Fulfilling the Promise of Public Education in New Jersey. It was an incredible full day virtual conference, lots of sessions. They put on, I think, 6 or 7 sessions throughout the day, or groups of sessions throughout the day. Of note for the ones that I attended, the budget discussions and the discussions around special ed were specifically impactful. All of those are available online for any of the board members that would like to view any of them. And then my last piece of correspondence, which is what I forgot earlier, I was able to attend the Cherry Hill West Career Day on June 2nd, which was put on by Mrs. Sandra Castellani from Cherry Hill West. And this is my second year going. I did represent work when I went, but I was there also to support the efforts that are being made for the internship programs and exposure of different careers for our high school students. Growth I could see over the last 2 years, just in the 2 sessions that we attended, very well organized. There was also a breakfast from the catering students there. And it's just a really good experience, even just meeting some of the kids and being able to interact with some of the students in the classroom. Great questions, interest anywhere from being a pilot all the way down to healthcare and like so many things in between. So really great day for that, morning for that.
Thank you. I think my question is, if you all medaled in different age groups, I won't ask. Ms. Stern, you had one more thing.
Yeah, I apologize. Thank you, Miss Mallory, for reminding me. And I apologize. I did look at my phone because I wanted to make sure I got the name right. So we don't normally look at our phones during our meetings, but so on May 21st, I attended the special ed parent advocacy group, CPAG, the Supporting Child Transitions meeting. So this was, I think, the first time they've done this meeting. It was really well done and well attended, which was really nice to see. And it was a presentation by our 2 behaviorists, our BCBAs, who, 2 years ago we didn't have them in district, right? We've prioritized bringing these behavior analysis folks into district as employees, and now they're working in our schools. And they did an excellent job talking about supporting students with special needs as they transition, especially from into each new kind of level, preschool to elementary to middle to high, and even beyond. So I think it was really well done. Lots of information. We have 2 really great BCBAs in district. I was really, I've never met them before and I'd never seen them present before. They were great. And I was just happy to see our focus on the goals that's, in our district goals about, especially supporting and improving parent experience and, student experience in our special education programs. And specifically about improving the experience around transitions. So more to come, more discussions, but it was great.
Thank you. I think I have already mentioned during the HOB discussion that I attended the Cooper PTA meeting with Mr. Greenbaum. It was a great discussion. I always love going to PTA meetings because this format, when we're up here, we receive public comment, but we don't really get to engage in a back and forth dialogue with community members. And PTA meetings are a great experience for us because we get to do that. So any PTAs out there that are listening, you can have a board member appear. All you have to do is ask and we will show up and we will answer all of your burning questions about what's going on in the district. Ms. Gallagher. Nothing. Mr. Mayor.
Nothing.
Dr. Dreisen.
Sure, thank you. So just to build on what Mr. Fain said, I really enjoyed attending that spring conference. That served for those of us trying to get board member certification. Attending something like that can check the box for professional development. So that's one step closer. My goal is to get certification by the October workshop. So on track for that. The content that, well, yeah, no, one more county meeting and I'll do that in September and then we'll be good to go. And as Mr. Fain said, the content was really interesting. So the topics that I was able to attend included navigating declining enrollment, building trust for a board focused on student achievement, empower your schools, steps districts can take to improve efficiencies and reduce costs, tackling the teacher shortage and igniting the future of teaching, leading learning and impact, and school funding and state aid calculations. So particularly as a new board member, it's just really helpful training. The other thing that I would just add, I know Ms. Sugar's already talked about it, but in terms of correspondence, Mrs. Palmer, Ms. Winters, Mr. Greenbaum, and I had the opportunity to join for those tours, and we really appreciated that. Also, thank you to Ms. Sugars. I had an opportunity to join for the meeting beforehand just to get further updates, given my particular interest in safety and security, and hear about what we're doing with respect to the vestibules and how that's part of the bond project. So appreciated the Q&A.
Thank you. Good job, board members. All right, we have made it to first public comment. Kim's excited. There will be 2 opportunities for public comment this evening. The first public comment session is for board action items only. Those are items 16 through 23 if you're playing along at home. There will be another public comment section for any topic at the end of the meeting. If you are a student in the district, you may comment on any agenda item during this first public comment period. Please identify yourself as a student. If you're a student online, that means put an S after your name. That way I know that you're a student. If you'd like to speak now, please identify the agenda item and clearly state your name and municipality. We alternate between speakers here in the room and those that are online. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak, and the timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters. Under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums, statements which demean individual community members or groups or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or repetitious will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means. By custom, we always start in the room. Please approach our microphone and give us your name, your municipality, and the action item you are speaking on this evening.
All right, I'm definitely way shorter than the last person. I do not have the agenda in front of me, so I am not sure if I fit within the, I wanted to talk about the junior high schedule.
We're not voting on that.
I understand that.
So that's not an action item this evening. So that will be its second public comment, which is at the end of the meeting.
Do we foresee that being before midnight?
I endeavor to do my best.
Okay, so you want me to wait until then?
You have to. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, second public comment. We'll try to go as fast as we can. I'll speak double time.
All right. Just seeing there's not a lot of people.
The second
here.
half of the meeting goes faster than the first
All
half.
right, I'm putting my trust in all of you.
We appreciate your faith. I'm going online. I see one hand up. It's a phone number ending in 788. Please state your name, your municipality, and the action item you're speaking on.
Me.
I'm sorry, my name is Jeff Podowitz. I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It is 20.6. Resolution to approve the acceptance of the funding for optimal comprehensive screeners. Focus. We're getting $30,000. And there are certain things for that money. There are a lot of things that we have to do, a lot of administrative costs, a lot of testing costs that has to be done twice. We're getting $30,000 for 4,000 students, at least 4,000 students, and the testing has to be done twice. And it's just about testing. There's a new office made by the state called Office of Learning Equity and Academic Recovery, LEAR. The other thing was called Focus. Nice cutesy names. These are things that you should be doing anyway. And should be doing to all kids. It extends up to maybe 4th grade. It may go back as far as kindergarten, as preschool. I'll be honest with you. Say no. You should be able to do. You should be doing this by yourself. You should be doing a good job by yourself. If you want to find kids with disabilities, find them. Do the screenings. On page 18 of a report from New Jersey Literacy Framework, it talks about letter naming fluency and phonic awareness and phonics decoding, all reading fluency. It doesn't mention silent reading fluency, which is important. It doesn't mention reading rate. No. Just say no about this, but do it correctly for yourselves. It also says some screening tools are also access oral language skills, providing valuable insight into a student's. Right, you're going to do a screening for that. And then it talks about potential for oral language concerns. Example, developmental language disorder. You're going to have to find a screen. No, well, guess what? There is a screening tool for that. All right. I don't know what it cost, but it cost, but that's 5 to 7% of the kids. I think you need to focus on helping the kids once they're diagnosed, and you need to focus on really even testing once, as long as the testing is done once a year properly, and then you help the children. That's what's important. But to the testing and the twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, and the data you're going to be sending to the state. Your administrative costs are going to be way over $30,000, probably close to $100,000, let alone the cost of the test. So please vote no, and please do the students right. Help them with the reading. Help them when you do diagnose it.
Thank you, Dr. Podowitz, for your comment. We appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak on an action item this evening? I don't see anyone in the room. Going back to the line, I don't see any hands raised online, so I will close first public comment and we will move on to our board work session. Mine is going to be really easy for the CNI report out because the vast majority of the meeting was the junior high model, which you guys just saw the presentation, which was what we discussed in the meeting. The committee also discussed theatrical presentations at both high school East and West for next year. Mark your calendars for exciting things like Footloose in the spring at East and Elf in the fall at West. It's going to be a big theater season. We also got some new books to review. Committee members and Ms. Palmer, who was a auxiliary committee member for the evening, all took books to read. Ms. Sherfain excitedly took the books for both AP Calc AB and AP Pre-Calc. She chose them. Now, Dr. Dreisen told me I had to do it, and I was saved by Ms. Sherfain, so I'd like to thank you for that. Do any other committee members have anything to add to my, I hope, exciting wrap up of CNI, Dr. Dreisen?
Well, I could have talked about this with the transition to junior high model, but I know that there's discussion around the transition to 6th grade. And I just thought it was meaningful in the meeting that, and I'm not going to get the words right, but the 6th grade theme, I think around this change in reading has to do with change agents. And I just thought it really paralleled that they really get to be change agents with this new model and, be part of the performance improvement. So I think the alignment there was great.
Yeah, it's really neat. I love the themes around the reading in each of the 3 middle level ELA courses. It's pretty fantastic. Mr. Fain.
You actually just reminded me by you saying that. I think it's important to note that the curriculum team is changing out a book too because of some responses that they got from family members. And they said they spent a considerable amount of time finding a replacement that mimicked the message, but was more accommodating of what the community was reflecting their needs were.
Yes, absolutely. And that's Omnivore's Dilemma, which had been required as part of the 6th grade book list, is going to be, we are reviewing I Am Malala, 2 different versions of that book for the nonfiction book for 6th grade. And I'm really excited about that. I've read Omnivore's Dilemma, the excerpts with my kids. It can be challenging. There's some themes in it that didn't resonate. I think the new book that we're reviewing will fill that slot nicely with a nonfiction book that meets the theme and is relevant to students in the 6th grade. Any other CNI committee meeting questions? All right, moving on to BNF. I'm going to ask Ms. Gallagher to give the BNF committee report.
Mine will be pretty easy too. So Mr. Greenbaum, Mrs. Palmer, and I met last Tuesday, and it was actually the whole meeting was in closed session. Where we had a guest to discuss health benefit plans, but or a discussion. So if anybody has any questions as to what was discussed, you can contact Mr. Greenbaum, Mrs. Palmer, or I, and we'd be happy to answer anything. But that's all I can say. Thanks.
Thank you. There is no HR committee report. I am going to go to P&L, which is Mr. Mayor.
And because I was unable to attend, thanks to an unscheduled family matter, I'm going to ask Mrs. Stern to give the report out.
I will do my best. We had a number of policies that we discussed and reviewed, so I'm just going to quickly go through them. And I'm going to definitely ask Dr. Braddock and Dr. Mahan to help me because I, again, was a bit of a pinch hit situation. So we discussed policy 5111, eligibility of resident and non-resident students. That was our first reading. The policy will move to a second reading. Part of that, we wanted to make sure we had updated language regarding our preschools because we will be having in-district expansion of preschool seats, and we want to make sure we're reflecting the kids that attend those programs as well, and also the possibility of expansion, anticipated an expansion of inclusion seats. So we want to make sure we're just addressing aligning our policies for that program as well. We discussed attendance areas, policy 8110, and just did some basic updated language, removing some of the legacy language that had to do with the transition of Rosa, as instead of being a selection school, now it's a districted school, ascending school. So just remove some of the language that no longer was relevant to the transition time, because next year, next school year will be the first school year where all grade levels are districted students at Rosa. We discussed policy 8454 on first reading, which is management of pediculosis. And I'll just say it's an unfun condition that happens oftentimes from students. It's lice. That's what it was about. I won't go any further except to say we're just updating our policy to ensure that we align completely with the Department of Health's recommendations. And the changes were reviewed by our lead nurse. So moving right along. We also talked about policy is this a bylaw 0143.2, or is that it's a bylaw, right? Bylaw regarding our high school student representatives to the Board of Education, all 4 of you. We just wanted to update the policy to reflect the participation of and the involvement of our high school student representatives. We talked about getting feedback from this past year's representatives who have now had a full year experience. I know they're graduating, but we were hoping they, and Dr. Mahan was, I think, going to follow up on that, but just hoping that they would be willing to just give some feedback before they launch into their next steps on the policy. Part of it too has to do with the selection process, making more of a student-driven process, more inclusive to actually selecting our student reps going forward. We reviewed the school calendars again, the favorite activity, right? This is it's a bit of a pain point. Okay, understatement. So without getting too much into it, we just discussed both graduation date. You know, we've run into some challenges when our graduations happen around June 19th, June 20th, because of Juneteenth, because of other holidays that various families and various students in our district's families observe that time of year. What we're LMC, the Labor Management Collaborative, they recommended, they came up with the plan, is my understanding, that, you know, some of the holidays that we've added in the past few years, which are meant to be inclusive to all of our communities in Cherry Hill. So things like Three Kings Day, Diwali, Eid, there's actually 2 different Eid holidays. So in order to encompass all of those, we're going to rotate. Some of those holidays will be in-service days and some of those holidays will be school closure observance days. So I think I got that right. Did I get that right? Okay, thank you. Was really happy that this is that we don't have to normally be much more involved in that because calendars are a bit of a thing. So anyway, that will move to second reading. And then we did discuss a second reading on policy 2363, which is student use of wireless communication devices. We just essentially, like, the language has been improved. You know, this past year was our first year having that policy. So now we've updated some of that based on feedback that came in from our administration, our schools. And then policy 5460, high school graduation. We, again, you know, didn't really have a lot of revisions, just, you know, we reviewed it. And then we began a discussion about the policy regarding 5111. I'm sorry, the discussion regarding non-residents attending our district via paid tuition. And once our policy 5111 is complete, we will then further, you know, go further into that conversation. I think that's pretty much it. And just to be clear, yeah, that's it that I recall. I know tedious, but I wanted to be thorough. Dr. Braddock, anything to add? Dr. Mahan, did I miss anything?
Nothing to add that I know of. Thorough, you were.
Okay, Dr. Mahan, all good.
I just want to make sure that it was indicated or included that we discussed policy 2363 and policy 5460, that we move forward to second reading. Policy 2363 is student use of wireless communication devices and 5460 is high school graduation requirements.
Thank you. That's helpful. Yep. Okay. Any questions from board members who are not on the committee? Mrs. Winters.
I just want to ask out loud for the board, the question that I asked Mr. Mayor earlier today was the cell phone policy, which is kind of near and dear to my heart. I feel like it was my baby because I was on PNL last year when we crafted it. The updates of it are just to clarify the language and make it more usable, right? There are no substantive changes to the cell phone policy.
That is my understanding, my recollection.
Yeah, even I'll just jump in, even though I wasn't there this week. We started that conversation at the previous meeting, and no substantive changes at all. It's really just to clarify some of the language to make it easier for staff, for the teachers to understand. Again, that's really all we were trying to do. So there are no changes. The policy has been an overwhelming success, but we've had some time to see where it could still be improved at the margins. And that's really what this does.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Really quickly, if I can add to, one of the margins that was specifically mentioned was phones being used to record things and the boundaries around those. But aside from that, it stays pretty much the same.
Thank you. Mrs. Sherfain?
I was actually going to bring this up on new or old business or one of those because I didn't realize that we were that you discussed the student rep policy. But I had a question, suggestion. I'm not really sure, but were there any discussion around maybe an orientation for new reps? Because I feel like we recognize that new board member. I mean, we go to weekend training and we recognize that new board members need a formal onboarding, and I'm curious, if there is any discussion around that. And, we discuss and hear a lot of controversial things on the board. And I think it's important that we're supporting the reps on understanding dynamics and just everything that happens at the table.
So there was not discussion about that. And I think that probably would be a regulation. I don't know that would be a, like in the policy itself. Typically, historically, it really is the purview of the principal who does the work with the reps. But I do, agree that there's value in, looking at that. I think it's a lot to catch. It's a lot to onboard, too. The role of student reps, is a different role from ours, but I think there's great value in that conversation. So yeah, I'd be happy for us to, kind of banter that around. I think first and foremost, we wanted input from the reps, the previous reps, about like, how could we improve? Does it apply? How can we improve? So, but yeah, good point. Anybody else have any other comments, questions? Seeing none, moving on.
Excellent. There is no governance report tonight because government meets tomorrow. Correct. It's on my calendar. I'll be there. Awesome. We have made it to approval of appointments. Mrs. Sugars, do I move this all as one item or do I read them all out?
You can move it however you want to do it. These are some straggling items from reorg. We were waiting for Mrs. Augustine's contract to get approved. That has happened at this point. So we are putting her in place and then addressing the remaining reorg items that needed to be addressed.
Okay, my brain just short circuited because they're before the part of the special action agenda.
It's a little different than our regular agenda. So you're just going to go into item 16 and if you want to read 17 and 18, but the actual voting will take place in 16.
Did everybody catch that? Does everybody understand what we're doing? I didn't, but I'm going to go for it anyway. Mr. Sugars knows what to do. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. 17.1 appointment certificated, 17.2 board secretary, assistant board secretary, 17.3 purchasing agent, 17.4 ratification of paid bills and budget transfers, 17.5 custodian of records, and 18.1 approval of bank accounts and bank signatories. Is there a second? Mrs. Palmer, are there any questions that I cannot answer, but Ms. Sugars can? Ms. Sugars, please open the voting.
Board members, you may cast your votes. We have a unanimous yes vote.
Thank you. And I am back on familiar ground with our special action agenda. I will move the CNI agenda. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. 20.1 approval of attendance at conference and workshops for the 24-25 school year. 20.2 approval of attendance at conference and workshops for the 25-26 school year. 20.3 approval of out-of-district student placement for the 24-25 school year. 20.4 approval of service contract with NJ Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired for the 24-25 school year. 20.5 resolution for the award of settlement agreements. 20.6 resolution to approve the acceptance of the funding for optimal comprehensive universal screeners or focus grants. Do I have a second? Mr. Mayor, are there any questions on the CNI agenda tonight? Seeing no questions, Ms. Sugars, can you please open the voting?
Board members, you may cast your votes.
Mrs. Sugars. I'm sorry, I need to abstain. I'm a yes on everything, but need to abstain on 20.3 due to a conflict.
Okay, Other than Mrs. Palmer's abstention on item 20.3, you have a unanimous yes vote.
Thank you. Ms. Gallagher, can you please move the BNF agenda?
Sorry, I was not paying attention. Okay. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 21.1 approval of bill lists, 21.2 resolution of the award of bids, 21.3 resolution for the award of a contract renewal, 21.4 resolution authorizing the use of contracts with approved cooperative purchasing systems for vendors to provide goods and services for the 24-25 and 25-26 school years. 21.5 resolution to close dormant special revenue fund 20 other local project accounts. 21.6 appointment of food service management company. 21.7 resolution approving vended meals contract between Yale School and Cherry Hill School Board. I'm sorry, Cherry Hill Board of Education. Do I have a second? Dr. Braddock, do any questions? Sorry, I'm like, oof. That was a tongue twister. Any questions? No? Mrs. Sugars, will you please open the vote?
Board members, you may cast your votes.
Mrs. Sugars, in 21.1, I just have to abstain from the third bill list due to, I'm sorry, not abstain, recuse from the third one, conflict of interest with Beata. Thank you.
Yeah, Mrs. Sugars, similarly, I have to recuse myself from the bill list payment to ESS to avoid a conflict.
Mrs. Sugars, I also will recuse from Jewish Federation on the third bill list. Yes to the rest. Yes to the rest.
Okay, so we have 3 recusals, Dr. Dreisen, Mr. Mayor, and Ms. Stern on the bill list, and a unanimous yes vote on everything else.
Thank you. Next, Mrs. Sherfane, can you please move the HR agenda?
Sure. The superintendent recommends and I move the following: 22.1 termination of employment certificated, 22.2 termination of employment non-certificated, 22.3 appointments certificated, 22.4 appointments non-certificated, 22.5 assignment salary change certificated, 22.6 assignment salary change non-certificated, 22.7 affiliation agreement, 22.8 contract renewal certificated, athletic and co-curricular, 22.9 other compensation certificated, 22.10 other compensation non-certificated, and 22.11 other motions, which of note is to approve the contract of Mr. Jason Schimpf, our new BA to the district, assistant superintendent and board secretary. Are there any questions? Oh, do I have a second? My bad. Ms. Winters, are there any questions? No? Seeing none. Ms. Sugars, can you please open the voting?
Board members, you may cast your votes. We have a unanimous yes vote.
And with that, we have approved the appointment of our new assistant superintendent, business administrator, Mr. Schimpf. Would you like to say anything?
Sure. Long meeting, but I just want to say
Get used to it, sir.
yeah, we have some of those. Just thank you very much for this opportunity. I cannot tell you how much I'm looking forward to this, to joining all of you, Dr. Morton's team, all of these tremendous administrators that I've researched and watched throughout this process. So I'm just really looking forward to getting started. And I know I have massive shoes to fill. Congratulations to Ms. Sugars, obviously on her retirement as well. I would like to say everything will be in good hands, and I'm just can't wait to get started. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can you please move the P&L agenda?
I will. The superintendent recommends that I move the following: item 23.1, approval of harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigation decisions. Those are the ones the board heard on May 27th. Item 23.2, approval of the comprehensive equity plan affirmative action team. That's the 3-year plan. And item 23.3, approval of the waiver of policies 8110 and 5111.2 for good cause shown. Do I have a second, Mrs. Stern? Are there any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars, would you open the voting?
Board members, you may cast your votes.
Mrs. Sugars, I need to abstain from 23.1. I was not here.
Ms. Sugars, I'm also going to abstain from 23.1. I have zero memory of that day, and I feel like I was not in attendance, so I'm going to abstain out of pure caution.
So we have 2 abstentions on item 23.1, Ms. Stern and Mrs. Sherfain. Other than that, we have a unanimous yes vote.
Thank you so much. There are no items for governance tonight, but there will be soon. Moving on to new business. Do any board members have new business? I have new business. I would like to congratulate Mrs. Renee Sherfain on achieving her certification through NJSBA. We get a round of applause from Sherfain. You have set the bar high. We're very proud of you. I feel like maybe the theme of the board this year is healthy competition, because I do feel like the governance committee has leveled things up and board members have responded. I was just really excited to see the email come through that you're a certified member. We're looking, so each individual member working towards certification, us working towards full board certification. Good things coming this summer with respect to more trainings, possible board retreat. Listen, it's your show. I'm just part of it. So we're rolling along. So really awesome. Thank you. And congratulations, Ms. Sherfain. Again, we're really proud. Ms. Stern, new business.
It's just following up on that. So Mrs. Gallagher, can you send, I know you shared some links of trainings, but will you resend or put us in the direction of the steps to take? That would be really helpful. And it sounds like you're going to have a very busy summer.
For certification?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Any other members? I also wanted to just acknowledge that it is Pride Month, and the board always acknowledges that by wearing rainbows. So I see lots of rainbows around the table tonight. So to everybody who's celebrating, happy Pride. We are excited and glad that you are all here to celebrate with us. Any other new business? Any old business for board members? Mrs. Sherfain.
Just very quick. I intended to do this earlier and then forgot. As somebody who is privileged to be a part of the interviewing process for the new BAs, I would just say welcome. I'm very excited for you to join us and excited to see where potentially my last year on the board, we'll see what happens, will take us with having a new BA on board. So welcome.
Excellent. Any other old business? As promised, we have hit second public comment prior to midnight. Promises made, promises kept. This is the second public comment section during which you may comment on any topic. If you would like to speak now, please clearly state your name and municipality. We will alternate between speakers here in the room and those that are online. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums. Statements which demean individual community members or groups or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or repetitious will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means. Welcome to second public comment. Please state your name, municipality, and give us your comment. You have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Jill Roth Gutman, and I am in Cherry Hill. And I have a student in middle school and a student in high school, and we have had the pleasure of 2 different middle school experiences. So I feel pretty well versed in middle school at this point. So the first thing I wanted to just comment on before I dive into the junior high model is we read Omnivore's Dilemma for both of my kids, and I Am Malala also independently, and I would urge you to consider having both of them in the required reading because they are both excellent books. The second thing, which I should have commented on during the other public comment, was 22.1. Mr. Elliott Ryan has been an outstanding social studies teacher, and it is a huge loss to lose him in this district. So I don't know if he was part of that riff, but if he was, this district is losing someone that really, really has stood out among all the teachers that my kids have had. And now on to the junior high. So I am really tired, but I'm gonna just read down my list. So the children with split level classes does not allow the teacher to give tests similar to the rest of their longer classes because of the disrupted periods. The split period time is against model practices, which indicates there should be fewer transitions, not more. How do students with IEPs and 504s that need extended time for tests, how will that be factored into the split level time? Ms. Metzger, though I love her, only commented on project and group-based work. She did not answer the question about tests and quizzes, particularly among students who have either unlimited time, time and a half, or double time. This will increase the amount of IEPs and 504s not being met, thereby increasing the amount of lawsuits. And I know that personally because I am a lawyer and I do child welfare work, even though it's not education law work. But I have had many advocates in the courtroom, having it be court ordered in various districts all over the state, dealing with these issues. Let's see. Her answer also reflected that time could be taken at the end of the day, meaning students will start a quiz or test, stop, go to lunch, go back at the end of the day, miss their choir, miss their music, mix their speech time, their OT, their PT, whatever it is. So that unfair, it's going to be unfair to have that chunk time. It's disruptive for students with anxiety issues. Next, moving on, how will this affect students with mobility and anxiety issues? The reason why I say mobility
You're
issues.
out of time. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your comment. But I'm going to encourage you, there is an email address. It's publicinfo@chclc.org where we're collecting all the questions and comments relevant to the junior high model. And I encourage you to send your comments there.
I appreciate that. I'd urge you to look at the Princeton middle school model.
I'm sorry, you're out of time. But if you send the information, we'll definitely take a look at it. Thank you. All right. Going back online. The first person with their hand up, it simply says iPhone. So iPhone, if you can unmute, give us your name and municipality. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Laurie Neary, Cherry Hill. I just wanted to speak regarding the commentary around strategic planning. So there was mention or ask of, the participants in that process, and I am proud to stand tall. I did participate in that process. I gave up personal time to attend several day sessions to put forward a lot of thought, deliberation, and due diligence in that process, and all the members of the community that attended did the same. I was concerned when I heard some of the earlier comments this evening and in the previous meetings regarding that planning, the community members present not being representative, which I found greatly disappointing. While maybe they wouldn't be people that you would have chosen, and I mean that in the broader you, they were there giving up their time because they support the schools. I was not a first choice person for the committees, frankly, but I still showed up and gave my time and thoughts because of my care for the community and the children and the staff members of our schools. So I really hope that the board takes into consideration that time and care that everyone gave up to put towards this. I'm also concerned that some members of the board have great focus on the words used, which gives me a lot of pause around their concerns and standing tall for our marginalized students and students with disability, because inclusion is incredibly important. It is everything for our children. And if you take issue with that word, then I have pause that you care and will stand tall for those with disabilities and other members of the marginalized community. And that is coming from the parent of 4 special needs children and a neurodivergent community member themselves. So I really hope that you take into consideration. I was proud of the process. I tried to stand for all our students and staff in that process. And I just want that to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Going back to the room, is there anyone else who would like to come up for second public comment?
Hi, my name is Ruby. I moved to Cherry Hill last year. Today, I'm here to thank all the board members and especially Dr. Mehan and Roshko, because the issue that I brought last year, like I said, it was a very personal issue for me regarding my son's school. And it was an issue that started with the school district. And I was very impressed with the system and how quickly Dr. Mehan take the action on it and corrected the issue. So I'm here to thank to her and everybody on behalf of my family. And my son was so happy. He's in 6th grade right now. And I cannot tell you, he keep thanking me and everybody on that. And he's happy with his school. He's really happy. He's in Rosa. He's really happy. In fact, he just, like I said, he's a gifted kid. He just selected for Algebra 1. And I cannot tell you, all night he been talking about it and he was so happy. He say, Mommy, did you go to the meeting? Did you say what you need to say? And can you go again? Like today, I literally came straight from the office. I was like, I'm really tired today. I don't want to go. And he said, Mommy, no, you need to go and you need to thank everybody from me. So thank you, everyone. I really believe in the system here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. It means a lot. Thank you. We appreciate it. Going back to the line, the next caller, the phone number ends in 788. Please unmute, give us your name and municipality.
My name is Jeff Protowitz. I live in Cherry Hill. Oh, wow. I don't know what to start. I really feel for 2 people who just talked about kids with disabilities. I really feel that, and I think they need to be listened to. As for one parent, as your kid gets older, if your kid goes to college, they know how to handle that extra time better than Cherry Hill. And that is a problem that anyone who's been through the district has gone through. My kid was able to handle the problem, but it is really, really difficult. And they're very, very inefficient, as again, compared to colleges, they are much, much more efficient about doing that. I wish Cherry Hill was too, but that is a problem, and I feel for you. That matters. But I really do. Both of you who are talking about kids with disabilities. A little bit about American history. We just had the invasion of Normandy invasion. This was the 81st year. Let me tell you about those people.
Dr. Protowitz, please keep it related to the public school district. Thank you.
You don't want me to. Okay. Yeah, I really think you need to do something about kids with disabilities. The school district is cutting our aid immensely. And by the way, has to do with our school district, because American history is important, and learning a little bit different than what people like Miss Ann, Dr. Ann teaches. This is what World War II was about, not what she was. But thank you for stopping me and not talking about that. All right? Because the way she talks American history and American soldiers, and you invited her, is a shame and shameful. As for this generation, they were known as the greatest generation. There was a best-selling book about that. They lived through the Great Depression and fought in World War II. All right? They liberated millions of people, helped do that with the Soviets, with the Chinese. All those people helped. All those soldiers, Great Britain, all those people helped. But this was the greatest generation because they lived through a depression. People are forgetting about that. They fought in World War II. They were patriotic. They were hardworking, very family-oriented. That's why you had a baby boom. They were our parents. And I wish maybe you'll tell Dr. Ann, who you've invited in that school and has wrote some really nasty things, that that's what it's about. Please, that's what bothers me, that is what you allowed in this school, and that philosophy, all right, of colonialism and American colonialists, as bad as the Japanese, as bad as the Germans. No, we were not. We were liberators. Maybe you should teach that. Maybe you should also help the kids with disabilities. To me, it's all the same. But thank you for
Dr.
stopping.
Podowitz, for your comment. Thank you, Dr. Podowitz. Going back to the room, is there anyone who would like to speak at second public comment? Please approach the microphone.
Sarah Jocelyn, I'm from Cherry Hill. I did participate in the strategic planning team, and I wanted to give some feedback. First of all, I wanted to thank the team that included the experiential learning in here. I did want to point out that in the draft, in the plan that was provided to the board, experiential learning appeared in two different places. It was under priority 1. It was also under priority 4. And so I'm not sure that had come through in that way. I did want to point out that the voice of the student is really important. And this aspect is a main element of priority 4. And so in priority 4, which I believe is called students, staff, and families, students come first, don't they? But that's not what's written in the current version. So I would really like you to relook a little bit at that aspect and realize that PTA is never mentioned here, and yet we're talking about the experiential outreach to parents and families, and in terms of engagement beyond the school. So I think that kind of got a little bit lost in the translation there. I did have a hard time. Of course, it hasn't been reformatted, but the original draft was 11 pages, and what I saw was an unnumbered 58 pages, which is extremely long. I do want to also say that all students are talented and gifted. Maybe they are not all gifted in the same way. None of us are all identical. We have different gifts. And I think that should be something that should be recognized here as well. I saw in priority 2 some planning that looked like it was to be collapsed within 1 year. That might be able to be handled by putting in a priority that's entitled management of change, because we're always going to have something that might be in a district plan for 1 year, but not going to be in a 5-year strategic plan. And so I thought perhaps there was some confusion over a strategic view of 5 years versus the annual goals. And so I think that's something that also should be considered, and I wanted to provide that as a possible solution. Some things, of course, that are very important did not get included in here, but are included by reference. There is the reference to the school goals. And of course, chronic absenteeism, which is part of the CUSAC responsibility of the board, does fall not only under the school, but also under the district. And I know that the attendance policy was discussed tonight. Again, I think it's very important to consider the voice of the students in areas. We all know that those experiential learnings are the win that every student comes to school for. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Going back online, the next caller is Laura Ann's iPad. Please unmute and give us your name and municipality.
It's Ann Einhorn, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Mahan and Ms. Carter for their report tonight. I found it very telling. And I knew that probably took a lot of extra work on both of your parts. So as someone on the outside looking in, there's some very good responses, and I'm sure you'll work your hardest to make it even better. So, but I do appreciate both of you. Congratulations to Mrs. Sherfain. That's really quite an achievement considering how long that you've been a board member. And it shows me how seriously that you take this position and willing to learn even more of what it takes to be a board member in our community. When I saw an article today that your strategic plan is about 50+ pages, it caused me a bit of concern, because I hope that when Hanover gives you a final product, that there's going to be at least an appendix for the general public to be able to read it. And also, will it be available to the general public, or is that something that would have to be Oprah when you finally vote on it? Thank you very much. And as always, Ms. Sugars, I'm going to miss you.
Thank you so much for calling in and for your comment. Going back to the room, is there anyone in the room who would like to make a public comment at this time? Seeing no takers in the room, I'm going to go back online. The next caller is A Wider Bridge. A Wider Bridge, if you can unmute, give us your name and municipality.
Alana Ayers, Cherry Hill. I emailed the board earlier today and received a response back. The response back was that my question would be answered at the meeting tonight during the presentation for the middle school model or the junior high model, but it was not answered. So currently in the middle school model, the core classes rotate based on day 1 through 4, so that if you have math first period of the day, you don't have it again first period of the day until 4 days later. Is that something that's going to continue next year, or will you have math first period of the day all year, or ELA, or maybe not your best subject, or a misbehaved class at the same time every day? I think that it's a well thought out part of the middle school model, and I want to know if that was going to continue. Middle school, the middle level is also the only level right now that does not allow for open enrollment. And I wanted to know if the board or the district is looking into that, so that those at the elementary level who already have open enrollment available, and the high school that have open enrollment, if that can be offered to the middle level as well. And then finally, the district has a policy about no water activities when they are out on field trip. They canceled a pool party that was supposed to be available for the preschool PTA. I wanted to know if the district had a policy on skate parties, because there is a helmet law in New Jersey that extends from bicycles to roller skates and roller skating. And many of the PTAs offer skate nights at the Hot Wheels in Cherry Hill, and some of the schools even offer field trips there. And if my child is on roller skates, they need to wear a helmet, but helmet is not a required supply. And so I'll be sending my child with a helmet the day of the skate party. But what about all of the other children who are there and probably won't have helmets? Who's liable for them? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Thank you for calling in. Back in the room, is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? I don't see anyone at the microphone back online. I don't see any other hands raised. I'm going to close second public comment and turn it over to Dr. Morton for superintendent comments.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Winters. Just like to officially from me say welcome to our student board reps. You've had opportunity to truly experience the full essence of a thorough, full, comprehensive board meeting. So welcome. Definitely looking forward to working with you guys and gals this throughout the course of this year. Just to echo what Ms. Winters has already shared, happy Pride Month to all of those who are celebrating. We recognize the LGBTQ plus community and their contributions to our wonderful community. Thank you for the comments this evening about junior high school model. Definitely appreciate your thoughts and your comments. I think just to speak to what Dr. Kapagna said, we take public feedback very seriously. We continue to work on this model. What's been shared thus far, particularly around the student schedules, are samples, and the administrative team will continue to work through those samples and work through the structure of what currently exists to get it the best model possible to provide the best experiences for students. And they'll definitely do what's best for kids. As it relates to the split period and the way that that's worked and the way it's worked in the past, our teams, our teachers, our administrators find opportunities and find time to ensure that our kids receive the accommodations, modifications, or whatever is necessary and was provided to them. It is a priority. It's not a recommendation, but it's something that we follow with full fidelity. As a reminder, all questions should be submitted as Ms. Winters indicated earlier, and we will have the informational sessions directly at each of the schools in the coming days. So tomorrow will be Beck, Thursday, Rosa, and then next Monday, Carusi. Either of those meetings are open for anyone to attend. You do not have to necessarily attend one of those schools. If you're at Rosa, but you attend Beck, it's fine. The information will pretty much be the same. We really are at the close of the school year. It's hard to believe that there's just one more week left of this school year. Our high school students have begun finals week this week. We're looking at other closing ceremonies and closing events as well, from elementary parties to move up days to student clap outs to middle school graduations, and then ultimately to the high school graduation ceremony at the end of next week. But it's been a dynamic year, a robust year. There's been so many wonderful things that have happened, and those things will be capped by the great closing activities. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your patience this evening, and I'll close there.
Before we make a motion to adjourn, I just want to acknowledge that this is Mr. Green's last meeting with us. Mr. Green, how many years have you been sitting through Cherry Hill Public School Board meetings? 27 years of dedication. We did a bang up job in this last meeting for you, didn't we? I mean, it was a little bit of everything. The full buffet. Thank you so much for your service to this public school district. We appreciate everything you've done. And I would like to know, before we adjourn, what you are going to do with your Tuesday nights from now on. Mr. Green, if you are still watching these board meetings, we will find you a hobby, sir. I'm sure you will. You can call Mrs. Sugars. I heard she has an entire list for what she will be doing when she is not sitting through these board meetings. I'm pleased to report Mr. Schimpf has not run out of the room yet. And it's not even 10 o'clock. Is there a motion to adjourn? Mrs. Sherfain. Do I have a second? Mrs. Sherfain, Mrs. Stern. All right. All those in favor of adjourning? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.